3, 2.
Ready to go?
Good evening and welcome to the March 20th, 2025 meeting of the Town of Southampton Zoning Board of Appeals. This meeting is being held live and also via video conferencing in accordance with the Town Board's enactment of Local Law Number 14 of 2022. Our next meeting and those following will also be held in person here at Town Hall and will continue to allow for remote participation. So please keep checking the town's website for updates and any new information. If you wish to view tonight's live meeting only and not participate, please don't join the Zoom meeting and instead go to the town's website for viewing access. With that, I'd like you to join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. For those of you with us here tonight, in case of an emergency situation or evacuation, please exit through the rear doors of the room and go down one of the staircases across the hall and continue out through the main entrance. Don't attempt to use the elevators during an emergency evacuation. In case of a medical emergency, the automated external defibrillator and first aid kit are both located in the hallway on this floor opposite the elevator. Restrooms are located across the hall from this room. We'll begin this meeting with public hearings. We have applicants and members of the public here with us live and also standing by via Zoom webinar, which is being moderated by CTV. CTV will mute the speakers on Zoom until it is their time to give testimony before the board. Please be patient. If you find you're having difficulties accessing the hearing, visit the town clerk's meeting portal and click on the instructions link. Also, for those of you in the boardroom, please silence your cell phones and refrain from speaking to one another as it interferes with the recording of our proceedings. Tonight, board member Helen Burgess is participating via Zoom and Bob Macedonio is absent. A reminder that applicants, agents, and members of the public speaking other than attorneys will be sworn in, will state their address for the record, and will offer their testimony as it relates to the application before the board. In order to consider properly every application before us tonight, individuals commenting on a particular application have a time limit of 3 minutes. Also, before handing in any submissions to the board tonight, please make sure documents identify the ZBA application name and tax map number. Application name should also be written on your certified receipts. Unless otherwise stated at the end of an individual application hearing, all applications will remain open for written comments for all purposes until a set date. Those written comments can be addressed to the members of the board and sent via email, mail, and/or dropped off at Town Hall to the board secretary, Candace Cowell, in the building department. At this time, I'd like a motion to approve both the minutes of our March 6th meeting.
So moved.
Is there a second? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. John, would you like to take us through the agenda, please?
Yes, we'll start with the adjournments and advertisements. Turning to number 4 on the agenda, application of John Nelson, 75 Sam's Creek, Bridgehampton, Suffolk County Tax Map Number 900-134-4-38. This will be re-advertised to April 3rd. Turning to number 9 on the agenda, application of Matthew and Tracy Marafi, 79 Inlet Road West, Shinnecock Hills, Suffolk County Tax Map Number 900-176-1-6. This application will be adjourned to July 17th. We need a second.
Is there all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Number 12 on the agenda, Parish Art Museum, 279 Montauk Highway, Watermill, Suffolk County Tax Map Number 900-133-1-16.7 has been withdrawn. On the decision calendar, application of Eric Grave and Carola M. Grave, 9 Rebadom Lane, Shinnecock Hills, Suffolk County Tax Map Number 900-211-4-2. This application will be adjourned to April 3rd.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries.
The application of Thomas Walker, 1311 Flying Point Road, Watermill, Suffolk County Tax Map Number 900-179-1-29. This decision will be adjourned to April 3rd.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
The decision in the application of Richard and Veronica Polizzi, 47A Oakhurst Road, Hampton Bays, Suffolk County Tax Map Number 900-191-1-33. I move to reopen the application for written submissions.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
In the decision in the application of Richard and Veronica Polizzi, I move to close the public hearing for a decision later tonight.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Motion carries.
Okay, the decision in the application of Hobby Stones LLC, 159 Lynn Avenue, Hampton Bays, Suffolk County Tax Map Number 900-324-3-8. I move to reopen the hearing for written submissions.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
And the decision in the application of Hobby Stones LLC, I move to close the hearing for a written decision later tonight.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Decision in the application of Joseph G. Wagner III, Irrevocable Trust, 13 Lakeview Court, Eastport, Suffolk County Tax Map Number 900-349-1-16.2. I move to adjourn the decision in this application until April 3rd.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Decision in the application of DLK Interests LLC, 21 Oakview Road, North Sea, Suffolk County Tax Map Number 900-32-2-32.2. I move to reopen the hearing for written submissions.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Decision in the application of DLK Interests LLC. I move to close the public hearing for a written decision later tonight.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Decision in the application of Stephen Genovese, 18 Dewey Lane, Hampton Bays, Suffolk County Tax Map Number 900-152-1-16. I move to adjourn this decision on the application to April 3rd.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Decision in the application of Linda Perillo, 38 Cove Road North, North Sea, Suffolk County Tax Map Number 900-61-1-26. I move to reopen the hearing for written submissions.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Decision in the application of Linda Perillo. I move to close the public hearing for a decision later tonight.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Okay, turning to number 1 on the agenda, application of Magidson Family Trust of 2020 US 6520. Lisa Schatz, trustee, 28 Hildreth Street, Bridgehampton, Suffolk County Tax Map Number 900-88-1-8.1. Applicant requests relief from the following provisions of the Town Code. 1, Section 330-6 General Regulations that references 330-11 Residence District's Table of Dimensional Regulations for an accessory front yard setback from the south property line, Hildreth Avenue, from 50 feet to 26.3 feet for a proposed detached garage with pool house, and from 50 feet to 29.5 feet for a proposed pool with spa. And 2, Section 330-76D, placement of accessory building structures and uses in all districts, and Section 330-83C, yards, to allow the proposed garage with pool house and the proposed pool with spa to be located within the required front yard for the principal building and on a non-conforming lot, and any other relief necessary.
What has jurisdiction?
Well, that was a quick reading. You could be one of those, like, what do they do? The
I
auctioneers.
could be an auctioneer, or I could sell cars on TV.
Yes, that's true. Okay, Brian, do you want to state your name and address, please?
Brian Locascio with the Adam Miller Group, Bridgehampton, New York, attorney for the applicant. As stated, I'm here for the Magidson Family Trust, the owners of 28 Hildreth Street, Bridgehampton, New York. This lot is 23,986 square feet located in R20 zoning district. I was before this board back in 2022 for a similar application where relief was granted for a garage of a slightly larger footprint, but that was only a one-story garage in a similar location. We are now, the property has traded owners since then. The new owner wanted a more conventional style garage that fits in with this kind of historic area in Bridgehampton, and just design that works for him and his family's needs. But it's similar nature, and it's a proposed garage / pool house. The footprint has reduced slightly. We have shifted the garage further from the street. We are now at 26.3 feet where the prior relief was at 20 feet. The property still remains substantially screened. That screening will remain in place to shield this proposed garage and pool, if approved from the street. As stated, this is a non-conforming lot, specifically for the shape. It's a narrow L-shaped lot, so there's no other location where we could propose and fit this structure on the property, given the pre-existing location of the existing two-story house. There is an existing pool that I will note is in a conforming location, which we are looking to propose in a non-conforming location. The idea of that is to center it off of the proposed pool house that we have before you tonight. We did contact the neighbors. The most impacted neighbor, which is the neighbor to the north at 81 Ocean Road, did send a letter in support. I'll argue he is the most impacted neighbor. His pool and garage structure abut this portion of the property line what we're proposing. So this certainly will be within the character of the neighborhood. It's a very similar layout of improvements. I have aerial images I have prepared to show this.
Yeah, there's a lot of feedback. I'm
Did you give a
wondering,
copy of this to Candace too?
I did
are
not.
these working? Yeah, maybe it's because, and these are not working either. So maybe it's too close to see. Yeah.
It's not entirely clear what's happening. We're having a new microphone system tonight, so please bear with us. It's going to, take a little
Fixed it.
getting used to.
Yeah, those two are, maybe there's a little feedback
It
between
was
the two
too close.
microphones.
Yeah, okay.
All right, so
But before you go on,
Yes.
just clarify for me the pool situation.
Yes.
You said
So
that
there is a swimming pool 10 feet off of the property line, which is the accessory setback. And that pool is there. That pool benefits from a C of O. Pool currently exists. It's an older pool in need of renovation. And again, the applicant's desire and his family is to have this pool kind of centered off of the pool house. So it's not, the pool staggered from the pool house structure. So it's all ties into one another.
so
Can I
it's a
just
front
follow
yard
up?
Yes.
setback.
It's a
now.
front yard set, yeah, because this lot has an extreme amount of front yard, given the L shape running along Hildreth Avenue and then back up Ocean Road. So we have a very tight building envelope.
So moving the pool requires relief, but it actually makes it further from
From the neighbor, correct, which the neighbor obviously approved of, and I'm sure that was one of the factors that led to his letter of support. But it does remove that but it is a similar improvement. It's, as you can see on the lot to the north, there is a similar garage structure with the pool behind it, pool house. So it's going to be certainly consistent with the neighborhood. And obviously, a pool is a common amenity within the town of Bridgehampton, and so nothing new being introduced here. And it's something that currently exists now. So any noise or whatever may be coming from the pool is not something that we're going to be introducing. It hasn't been there historically on this property.
And the two-story garage does not require pyramid relief,
That's
correct?
correct.
Can you clarify, after a while, when you do all the site visits?
Yep.
You can get confused?
Yep.
Is there what looks like a garage or a pool house under construction right now?
No, that is actually the neighbor's garage, pool house that is just north of our property. So our lot is highlighted, and I can show you.
Oh, I see, so
So we're here, so it's this structure,
that's the one
and
that's,
there's a gate, but that's
Okay.
not our property. We're
Thank you.
here, and we're proposing generally in
got
that
it,
area.
got it. Okay, thank you.
And, we're not subject to clearing restrictions, but this is already disturbed, cleared area, so we're not removing any native vegetation. It's, these lots are tight in this area. These lot are older homes in this area, so it's, and it's certainly not uncommon in historic neighborhoods that the structures are actually closer to the street. Like some neighboring jurisdictions, like Sag Harbor Village, actually has a reduced front yard setback in the historic district to kind of keep that historic nature. But happy to answer any questions you have.
So it's nicely shielded from the street.
Yep.
And I'm assuming that's going to stay and you'd be amenable to stipulating.
Absolutely, yeah, that was a condition of the prior determination, I recall, and we certainly would want to keep any screening, because they'll want to, for their own reasons, have their pool screened. With the exception of the little curb cut that's being opened, the hedging will remain.
And the mature trees.
Yes, I don't know that any trees are being removed.
Well, with the exception of where you have to clear for the proposed
Correct,
driveway.
yeah, we're not proposing to clear cut the lot in any regards.
Brian, where's the pool fence?
There's a perimeter fence on the property.
But there's an open gate, ungated driveway? You don't have a gate
I mean,
symbolized
we'll
here?
have to, obviously, any building permit would require, code compliant pool enclosure, so I would certainly be happy to condition that.
Okay, I
as
would
any such.
definitely,
But we couldn't get a building permit or a CO for it without
I
having that.
understand, but, I'm looking at it, I'm going, where's the pool fence? And there's like a big, opening to the driveway.
I don't think they have gotten into that level of detail
Okay,
yet.
But I think you need to recognize that that's required.
Absolutely, yeah, no, without
Can you
question.
also clarify, you're gonna have two curb cuts entering the property, one by the pool house, one by the main house?
That is correct, yep. And the prior application had a second curb cut, but off of Ocean Road. So this actually moves a curb cut off of a busier road of Ocean Road and moves onto the side street of Hildreth.
And
So
the
otherwise,
other,
there's no practical location to get from the existing driveway to this garage. And
It's a
Yep.
unique lot, without
Yeah,
question, right?
And actually, one of the neighbor to the east actually showed up at the prior application hearing, and one of his concerns or issues was that the cars are always parked in that driveway, which is kind of elevated, and it actually blocked his view of the beautiful windmill on town property right across the street. So we're creating more off-street parking by creating this layout here.
I remember that. Julie, do you have anything else you want to?
I don't have any further questions. Unless others do.
This has got two front yards. It's an unusual piece of property. It's long and narrow. I think you've done a nice job of trying to center the pool away from the neighbors. And as you said, there's no required pyramid relief for the garage, just a setback relief. So the way I look at it, you need relief for a pool in the garage in the front yard, you need relief for setback for the garage and setback for the pool.
Correct.
And that's it. There's four corrects. Okay. Is there anybody else who wishes to comment from the board?
no, I have no problem.
I wanted Brian to go through the analysis about whether or not the proposed building is accessory as it relates to the size of the existing house.
Oh, all right. That's a good point, Katie.
Because we didn't do it for the first application, but I had mentioned to Brian, I thought the first application was for a one-story.
We actually did do it for the prior application, and I submitted a letter from Blaise McCoy's office
Awesome.
certifying the size of the house
Okay.
at 4,480 square feet. I don't have the square feet they're not on these plans, so I have to get that number.
Well, that could be a written
My
submission.
sense is the structure may have increased slightly, which may put us slightly over that 25% threshold, but it's gonna be close. It's certainly gonna be within the character of the lot next door, where the garage pool house is larger than what we're proposing and probably about half the size of the main house. So I don't think that would be unique, but I have to get those numbers.
So Katie, if it's larger, does that element of the plan require relief?
Yes.
It's like an interpretation. The board says, notwithstanding the size of it, its use is incidental and subordinate. Certainly, I think one of the things that the prior variance also talked about was no cooking or sleeping
right.
in
Yeah,
that.
of course, we'd be happy, we have to by operation code, but
You should put it
that'd be
in.
a great, yes, we would offer that in any condition of the decision.
It's non-habitable.
But you don't think it's more than 30%?
I don't think it's gonna be more than 30. I mean, let's see what our footprint is.
Maybe we should know first.
Good idea.
Well, also in terms of, I think if it exceeds 30, we should have it as a stipulation in the variance that we would approve it as, not just, the
Well, if it's
usual
more than
general
30,
language.
we would want to have some
Specification.
testimony with regard to it.
Well, I mean, it's Brian's, I had asked Brian to just, give the board an idea of the numbers, I mean, I don't.
Why don't we just
Yeah.
ask for a refresh submission on some of this information, and then
A written submission, I think.
Yeah, and then if it exceeds a 30% threshold, is that something you'd want me to come back and?
I think so.
Probably, because, we hear these all the time and we ask other people to, justify it, so we should probably hear
Right.
it again. But if it exceeds 30, otherwise I think is a written submission, it would be okay.
And that's floor area, not finished space, but all space, the first, second floor of
Right.
the main house. And
So what was the percentage of the other one if you did that submission? Oh, you
It
only
was-
had it,
it was 1,079 and 1,120 square feet is what 25% is. And doing very quick scratch math, which is not precise, I get about 1,400 square feet, but it's going to be less than that because the pool house area actually comes in about a half a foot. But so it's going to be around 30%, I think, the number.
All right, so we'll leave it, if it's 30% or under, you can submit it as a written submission,
Okay.
otherwise you're gonna come back.
Or if I were to maybe just submit a tweak of the plan to get us a 30%, would that also suffice?
Yes.
If it's otherwise the same structure, just, okay.
Yes.
All right, I got it.
Simplifies things.
Okay, so how did we do that, Katie? And
How do we do it?
should we leave it open, or?
If Brian's willing to get it to 30%, then you can ask if there's any, testimony, and then you can close it for written subs.
Okay.
And then if for
Alright.
some reason his client's like, no way, I
Yeah,
want
I'll
35,
request to be
then we'll have
reopened.
to
Reopen it.
reopen it, correct.
Okay.
Right, we
Yeah.
have to reopen it.
I think I can get that by the, was it the April 4th deadline that Candace had stated earlier?
Yeah, the written
Yeah.
submissions.
Yeah, because if it's not, and we have to go back to drawing board, then I'll just have to.
April 3rd. Is there anyone in the audience who wishes to be heard on 28 Hildreth Street? Is there anybody on Zoom who wishes to be heard on 28 Hildreth Street? I'm sorry, what?
He's gonna go check on Zoom.
See if someone's on Zoom.
Yeah.
We're having a little bit of technical
IT man is
difficulties
busy
tonight. Please bear with us. Okay, he's gonna go check. Okay,
Okay.
all right, Julie.
Yes, so we are going to close the hearing, keep it open for written submission until April 4, with the understanding that we will be reopening if you do not get the coverage.
Yeah.
To
if
30%
you're not or
or
cannot
below.
meet the 30%.
And we will slate this for a decision on April 17th.
Second.
Ms. Kane,
Aye.
Mr. Leonard,
Aye.
Mr. Redmond,
Aye.
Mr. McDonald,
Aye.
Mr. Burgess. Chair votes aye. All right, thank you.
Thank you all very much. Have a great night.
You too.
Okay, number 2 on the agenda, the application of Nina Wotus, 11 June Avenue, Flanders, Suffolk County Tax Map number 900-148-3-23. Applicant requests relief from the following provisions of the Town Code for a proposed one-family dwelling on a non-conforming lot. 1, Section 330-84D, Pyramid Law, for the total encroachment in the amount of 5,047.69 cubic feet, 3,430.58 cubic feet on the east, plus 1,617.11 cubic feet on the west, and 2, Section 330-6 General Regulations that references Section 330-11 Residence District Table of Dimensional Regulations for a total lot coverage from 20% to 20.7% and any other relief necessary.
Board has jurisdiction?
Are either of you attorneys? Okay, then let me swear you in. Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? Okay, please separately state your name and address.
Nina Voita, 70 High Meadow Lane.
Tom Lamort,
I'm sorry.
Lamort, LA, excuse me, LAMORT, 70 High Meadow Lane, Jamesport.
Okay. Lamort.
LAMORT. Yes.
Thank you.
Okay, so tell us about this application.
So looking for relief from the, I guess, the pyramid, right, rules, the overage on the area is what, less than 1%? Seemed
Oh, you
like
mean the coverage? The
Coverage,
lot
yeah.
coverage, yes, yes.
the pyramid is over a bit,
Mhm.
and just looking for relief on that, to be able to build the planned house on that piece of property. Right? And from looking at the local area, in fact, even the house behind is about the same, actually, it's a larger square footage than the proposed house for this property. On 12 Indian, it's 22, what is it? I have it here, 2,200 and 80. I have that one. It's hard to see this picture, but 2240. Right, same lot, 0.414 acre.
And what's the size of that? The one you were referring to?
Is the one right behind, it's the lot directly behind the 11 June.
Mhm.
And 11 June, it's looking at 2211 square footage for the proposed. And there's also a house on 16 Indian, which is 1844 in the same lot, and another one, 1840, on a same lot, which is, they're all adjacent to this property to some degree.
Okay. John, you want to start us off?
Sure. So my thinking on this is a lot of relief for, it's a fairly large house for that small piece of property. So I would tell you, in my feeling, for my vote here would be that we'd have to come up with something on reducing that somewhat. on the relief.
I guess that our confusion is the architect that we hired to do this, or she hired to do this. Why wasn't that even considered with this, the plan? I mean, we're
It's an
kind of.
answer I can't give you, except if you go back to him and ask him
Wouldn't-
to work on that relief. It's a lot of relief. And there's a reason for that, Laura, so.
It's a small piece of property.
Yeah, I know it is, I know, but we're
And-
just, again, hired this person to do
You
this.
know-
And they didn't give us any indication in drawing this up and saying, wait a second, you're gonna be X amount
I'm
over on the
I'm so
pyramid.
sorry that
and
that
owing this."
happened.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm really sorry that that happened because that's, it's not right. But the reality is that you need relief for pyramid, and we do grant some pyramid relief, but this is an exceptionally large
Yeah.
amount
It's
of
like
pyramid
60%.
relief. And I wanted to ask you specifically, what are maybe I missed it.
Height is 28.7.
All right, and then what are the heights of the different floors?
Oh, that's a good question.
I think they're 8 feet each, 8 feet and 8 foot.
Oh, yeah, 8-foot ceiling.
8 foot ceilings.
Eight, both, okay. Because sometimes we look at that to try to see if there's any room for, reduction, and that would help, but in this case, that's not gonna really be able to.
No,
It's
look
not
at-
gonna,
Maybe
know,
reduce the
sometimes we
outside
look at-
walls a
Yeah.
little
No,
bit.
I understand
we
that.
look at
but-
different kinds of angles of the roof and, different,
Yeah, I
different things, but,
Is there a basement?
No.
Okay. And
So,
is
You know,
there,
I-
there's an attic? I mean, a problem I'm having is we have no plans. I would
Yeah.
have loved to see the
Really?
plans.
Oh, okay,
Well-
we have the whole package.
yeah, but,
We didn't get-
unfortunately, we didn't get plans.
We didn't get the plans.
so the other issue that I have is I went to the site, most of the houses are very modest cottage-like structures. And you have two
That's being
issues.
kind, but.
Right, and you have two issues. One is coverage and one is mass, right? And the pyramid is representing the mass. And
These other structures don't count, I mean, they don't seem to apply, comply. to
We
that.
don't know what their pyramid
Yeah.
violation is or
They look like it.
whether they
I know,
were
it's hard
granted
to-
variances. We don't have that information.
It's just looking at the size of the same size property and the size of the house, I don't.
Yeah, it's hard. You're eyeballing it. You don't really.
No, I know that, but
you
logically.
need to be thinking more of long Cape Cod style to fit something in there. I don't think you can fit a second floor that easily at all, which is the problem that John just
Yeah,
described.
she just doesn't have the funds to go back to, this is a bit of a hardship with the financially, and she doesn't have the funds to go back to pay the architect to do another.
I don't know what to,
Well, again,
I don't know
not
what to
you,
tell you.
not your.
No,
Like,
and I'm
an
very, and I
architect
feel very badly
taking
about
her
this.
For this and not considering.
Well, I would go back to the architect and challenge him, like, you gave us the plan that wasn't gonna be able to be approved by the building department, and what does that mean, and perhaps pursue that in some sort of way.
They shouldn't take in the job if you weren't familiar with the building code.
Yeah, and, they have professional liability insurance, so, I'm just saying that they're, I don't know what the circumstances are, so I can't really speak to it, but I feel very badly about this, but honestly, it's an enormous amount of relief for a small piece of property. We don't really, we can't really compare it to the other
Okay.
pieces of property.
sorry.
And no problem with the coverage, but it's the pyramid, yeah,
Yeah,
and
Cubic feet is,
yeah.
the limit's what, 31, and this is at 5 or something, right? 30.
The coverage is, I think, 20%, and you're at 21%, isn't that what
Oh,
we're
yeah,
looking at?
that's,
Yeah.
I didn't think that would be.
No, that's not a problem, not at
That's
all.
less than 1%.
Yeah, no, not a problem at all.
Pyramid cubic.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's
The
your biggest
volume
impediment.
of the house.
That's your biggest impediment.
The architect can come up with that.
That's-
I'll go back and talk to him about it.
Yeah,
I would talk to the architect and see what he can do.
I have to. Okay,
Okay.
appreciate your time. Thank you.
Okay, so at this point, what do we want to, let me just ask, is there
Ask
anyone
the
in the audience who wishes to be heard on 11 June Avenue? Is there anybody on Zoom who wishes to be heard on 11 June Avenue?
No one on Zoom.
Okay. Whose is this? It's yours.
It's
So,
John's.
Just gonna leave it open.
do you want us to leave this open and you come back to us at some point if you
Is that the, or?
That's generally what we do. We'll hold it open.
hold
You
it
can
open
choose
for
a date to come back, maybe sometime in April or in May.
Right.
If
Once
there-
you've-
okay.
and propose different plans, and then we'll do this again.
So the ideal would be to conform to the pyramid completely.
Well, yes, but, I mean, we do grant relief on
But not
small,
that large.
but not in that amount, no. I mean, so it's.
And we
you know,
don't
I think-
generally tell you how much
I got
relief.
you. No, I understand. It's just trying to get an idea of what.
Yeah, I
what
mean,
can-
you know, for
go
a
back
small
to
lot like that, you're gonna probably require some kind of pyramid relief, but this is, you know,
Right, it
more
is,
than
yeah,
what
they're
we would
small lots
normally.
over
And
there.
you should also, I was about to make a bad joke, which I won't make. You also talked to the health department about whether they're gonna issue a septic system on a lot that size, because
You did, you went through that with.
only,
Bill,
you know,
Bill, yeah.
don't go through the burden of designing something again to find out that's a challenge.
It's
still.
too much for the septic, what septic could be accepted on that.
Yeah. Right, right.
Okay.
Okay, so let's find a date when,
Oh, okay.
when you'd like to come back. We have a couple of dates. You wanna leave it open for now until May?
Yes. Yeah.
May,
Yeah, that'll
okay.
give us some time.
May
for-
1st or 15th?
Which one?
Let's do May 15th.
Okay, so John, this is yours. Do you
Okay, we're
wanna?
gonna leave it open to May 15th.
Mhm.
Second.
Mr. Redhead?
Aye.
Mr. McDonald?
Aye.
Ms. Burgess? Mr. Leonard?
Aye.
Ms. Kane?
Aye.
Chair votes aye. Thank you very much. I'm
Thank
sorry
you.
for your
Okay, now you're-
confusion. Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, number 3 on the agenda, Hildreth Homestead LLC, 120 Hildreth Avenue, Bridgehampton, Suffolk County Tax Map number 900-88-1-17.28. Applicant requests the following relief from Town Code Section 330-84D Pyramid Law for a total sky plane encroachment in the amount of 1,021.5 cubic feet to elevate and expand a one-family dwelling 893.3 cubic feet on the west and 128.2 cubic feet on the east, and any other relief necessary.
That's jurisdiction.
Lisa, let me swear you in. Okay. Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Please state your name and address.
Lisa Zaloga, 1375 North Sea Road, Southampton, New York.
Okay, Lisa, tell us about the application.
So, oddly enough, I was surprised that the other one was on the same street. This is on Hildreth Avenue in Bridgehampton, and this is it's in Bullhead Village. So it is in the R20 zoning. However, the subdivision uses R10. So this house is a pre-existing non-conforming house that is, a very steeply pitched roof. It has a pre-existing non-conforming pyramid, as it was built prior to the pyramid law coming into play. The goal here is that there are existing 3 little baby doghouse dormers on the front of this house, and it doesn't really, it really kind of limits the second floor. So part of the goal is to create a shed dormer across the front of the house that, allows them to take more advantage of the second floor space. In doing that, that increases our pyramid law, our pyramid.
Relief.
There you go. Then there's a second aspect to it, which is that, this property basically is lower in the front of the street, and it slopes up towards the open common space that's at the rear of the property. So the rear of the property is, there's like a 5-acre open area, common space behind all of these lots. And if you look at the survey, you can see that, that area, the elevation's there, it's 30.6, it's 31.1. Our first floor is at 29.9 currently. And the property is basically sloping down to their rear patio. Part of our proposal is to put in a swimming pool, which doesn't require any relief, but obviously needs to be on level ground. So the goal is to lift the house, which is beneficial to my client, as she can put in a finished basement as opposed to going down. She can go up, and it allows us to raise up the first floor so that we're higher than the common space behind us, and all of our, we can regrade and not have the water kind of just draining into their house. So the existing And it may sound, it says we're asking for 1,000 cubic feet. Technically, we're already, we already have about 480 some odd cubic relief that's pre-existing non-conforming. So our actual increase on the west side of the house is about 400 cubic feet, 390 cubic feet. So it's not actually even kind of as great an ask as it sounds potentially because it's already existing. A lot of it is already an existing pyramid violation.
Can you
What was that number
clarify?
again? 400?
Uh,
Did you say 36?
The
Existing?
The existing is 487.1.
487.1.
Okay, and there's currently, if you look at the west elevation on my drawings, you can see there's currently 2 chimneys that are actually on that side of the house. They don't actually count in pyramids, but we are removing those as well. So if you see my proposed west elevation shows the, it's an increase of 390.3 cubic feet on the west side and a very small portion on the east side, which is 100,
6 or something.
yeah, something along those lines, right? No, actually, it's only 21 point, oh no, it's 106 and 21, so 130 cubic feet on that
Can you
side.
clarify a few things? I don't need precision here, but I'm just trying to understand. So you're adding structures that are encroaching further into a request for pyramid relief, and you're lifting the building.
Correct.
How much of the lift of the building is responsible for the total net ask of the pyramid relief you're asking for?
Good question.
Well, I'm just trying to understand where it's coming from,
I
right?
understand. I mean, I can obviously, I can calculate that for you. I, off the top of my head, don't know. I would say it's probably in the neighborhood of half, right?
Okay.
So, it's in the neighborhood of, instead of 390, it's probably 150 or 160 cubic feet of that.
And what's the ceiling height in the basement after you lift the house? And presumably,
We would have an 8-foot finished basement ceiling. And, we may have ductwork and stuff that has to drop down below that, but we would have an 8-foot finished
it's
ceiling.
effectively a tall crawl space. I mean,
Right now it's about 6 foot, right now it's about 6'6", I think, so, yeah, so.
And can you help me a little bit more with the flooding that you're trying to mitigate? Is that the fundamental basis for trying to lift, or is it really to get
It's
space
both.
and that's a benefit?
It's both. Part of it is that they do want to put finished space in the basement, and by having the water come that way, you're never going to be able to keep the water out of the basement. So
do you really
it's-
have basement flooding issues from that property?
Well, that's what I was.
I mean,
It-
I went to the site.
Yeah.
If you were in Montauk and you had a 20-foot elevation, 100 feet away, I'd be buying the basement flooding issue. So I'm just trying to understand.
Yeah. I mean, it's not per se that there's a ton of water in the basement. Part of it comes to the fact that I'm going to have to do something to level the backyard for the swimming pool as well.
Okay, that's fine.
So-
I'm just
so
trying
I'm
to
trying-
understand what we're fixing.
Right. So I'm trying to, I either have to put a retaining wall in the back to level it down lower, at which point then I'm creating more of a problem, or I need to be able to raise it up. So it's kind of an either or conversation. And again, it's mutually it's beneficial to them to get the finished basement. They could dig down, but it, it's both. Now, what I will say though is, and this is where it's gonna sound odd. So, there is a homeowners association here, and they've had conversations with them, and we're in conversations currently with them. So regardless of whether you guys actually feel that this is okay, I'm gonna ask you to hold it open anyway, in case because we're trying to make everybody happy, and we want them to be happy. So, regardless of whether you even thought that it was I'd love to have comments back. And just for your information, we have talked to the neighbors to the east, and they have no issue. The neighbor to the west, her concerns seem to be, there's a little easement area that kind of crosses both this property and the other property to the west that allows her access to that common area. And her concerns seemed to be just that we weren't gonna be closing that off, which obviously we wouldn't. And then I did hear from another neighbor, the other neighbor catty corner over here, and he just asked that we would be maintaining the screening for the swimming pool. He didn't seem to say anything about the variance.
Stay on the common area for another minute. So the common area is managed by the HOA or some equivalent thing, right?
Yes, I assume so. I don't know.
The water accumulates in the common area and runs right toward your property, sort of.
Well, I went to the site and it's a field.
Yeah.
It's essentially a field, so it's not like it's got a, a divot in it and where the water accumulates, it just runs down. It's like a hill, that's
Right,
it.
and
And it's got grass on it, so it absorbs a lot of the water, I'm sure.
I mean,
yeah.
there's not a river. I mean,
No, it's not.
I don't want to lead you to believe that's what I'm trying to
It's
say.
not gonna be a farm.
okay. I mean, this is more about getting a taller basement and leveling the yard than it is a flood mitigation strategy.
Right, I think that it all works in together.
Yeah.
And again, I either have to level it one way or the other for the swimming pool. So I either have to go down or I have to go up.
I get that. You did a nice job of weaving all that into a common solution. So
Yeah, right, I thought so too. I personally don't have a problem with this application. I think, it's not an enormous amount of pyramid relief, given that it already has a pyramid relief. And, I went to the site, it's very protected. I mean, it's got screening, I mean, it's the basic house is on Hildreth, it's not really affecting the common area or anything like that. So I basically don't have a problem. Anybody else on the board?
I think it's very modest. And I appreciate what you're trying to do, and I think it makes sense. And if these people have water intrusion, you should resolve it.
Okay, is there anyone in the audience who wishes to be heard on 120 Hildreth Avenue? Is there anyone on Zoom who wishes to be heard on 120 Hildreth Avenue?
I'm on Zoom.
Okay, Kevin, this is yours.
So we're gonna leave it open to
Give me April 3rd and hopefully. we
third,
can- yes,
and if you
please.
need to adjourn, you can request that.
So,
Okay.
are we going to do written comments with the decision on, or do you want to adjourn it till
I
April?
actually would like to adjourn it
Adjourn
so
it
that
till
I can
April
make
3rd.
sure that when I
Sure. So we're gonna adjourn. I'm gonna make a motion to adjourn the 120 Hildreth Avenue application to April 3rd.
Second.
Okay, Mr. McDonald?
Aye.
Mr. Redmond?
Aye.
Mr. Kane?
Aye.
Mr. Leonard?
Aye.
Ms. Burgess? Chair votes aye. All right, thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
Okay, number 4 on the agenda, application of John Nelson, 75 Sam's Creek, Bridgehampton, Suffolk County Tax Map number 900-134-4. Oh, I'm sorry, I got confused with my notes. Number 5 on the agenda, application of Basilio Sarlanis Trust and Janet Sarlanis Trust, 308 East Montauk Highway, Hampton Bays, Suffolk County Tax Map number 900-230-3-23. Applicant requests relief from Town Code Section 330-76D, placement of accessory building structures and uses in all districts, and Section 330-83C yards to allow the swimming pool to remain within the required minimum and total side yard for the principal building on a non-conforming lot and any other relief necessary.
Board has jurisdiction.
Or Nelson's- I think we're waiting for somebody to come up.
Thank you.
Suzanne, let's swear you in. Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
State your name and address.
Susanna Herman, N Consultants, 1319 North Sea Road, Southampton. This application is for a swimming pool. The swimming pool is already constructed. They did have a building permit that was issued in May. Obviously, when they issued the building permit, they missed the required variance. The property is at 308 East Montauk Highway. It's one property over from Crab Road along the stretch of, that goes along Shinnecock Bay there. So the property fronts on Shinnecock Bay as well. It's in the Resort Waterfront Business District, which has no side yard setbacks for accessory structures. The swimming pool was proposed 50 feet plus from the bulkhead because we had to push it back from the bulkhead in order to get a letter of non-jurisdiction from Conservation Board, which is what we had to do in order to get a pool approved here. What was missed was the fact that it's in the required side yard for the house. If you look at the survey, it's a little bit confusing. It looks like it's just next to the deck. But there's a little piece of house that comes down within that deck that says second story deck over house. The house is pre-existing non-conforming with a setback of 14.3 feet from the side yard. The pool is proposed 10.7 feet from the side yard. So we need a variance to place the pool in the required side yard, being just under 4 feet too close to the property line. It's also within the required total side yard. This being in the resort waterfront business, the total side yard required is 100. We're nowhere near that. So,
Not even close.
so those are the variances that we require. It's a very small swimming pool. It's only 15 by 16 feet. It's wedged in there between the pre-existing deck and kept it 10 feet off the property line just to try to be reasonable. Like I said, the building department issued a building permit in May. The pool was built in June. No one realized the issue until they submitted a second application to add some decking around the pool, and the building department said, oh wait, this is in the required side yard. So that's when they realized there was a problem with the swimming pool, and we can't get a certificate of compliance unless we get a variance. It's also a little bit above ground, but just barely. The photos that I passed around show that it's really not obtrusive.
Is it more than a foot?
I would say it's probably about 1.5 feet.
So we should give you relief for that as well, under all.
It's not a,
It's not a deck.
Well, it's not a deck. Does that matter?
it's a pool is a structure.
Right.
A deck is
I
not
don't think
a
we have to-
structure unless it's over a foot, so I don't think it needs that.
Right.
There's no decking really around it. They sort of bermed it. They did a little retaining wall on the waterfront side and just sort of bermed around it. And they're planning to add more landscaping along the side property line once the weather breaks. So soon. There's some landscaping that was there, some screening. The house to the east is also pre-existing non-conforming. It's 5 feet away from the property line. But there's no windows in that area on the first floor. The only windows are up on the second floor, which is, they would not, unless they leaned out the window over the swimming pool, they wouldn't even be able to see it. And they're looking out at the bay anyway.
Yeah, they're not looking.
They're not looking down at this little swimming pool to their side. It's a gorgeous deck on the property next door, so they are looking out towards the bay. We have, the homeowner did speak with their neighbors, and they didn't, the neighbor to the east who's affected, and they haven't, they didn't have any problems with the,
How about the neighbor to the west?
I don't believe they've spoken with them.
Okay. Because that's the one who's more affected, isn't it? The west. Isn't the pool on the west? On the
Yes,
west
the
side?
pool's on the west, I'm sorry, I think I have
Yes.
those backwards.
All right, so then you spoke of the neighbor on the west,
Not
but
the
not on
neighbor
the east. Okay, okay.
You're east-west, I'm deck, pool.
Exactly.
It's all good.
I drove past the property. It's hard to park there and take a, walk through. You can't see it from the street.
No,
I mean,
I do have a photograph in the little
Yeah.
packet that shows the view from the front. It's,
Right.
there's a lot of vegetation from
Yeah,
the
and
street.
it clearly there isn't another place to put it that would be conforming even close. So, this was, kind of an oversight on the part of the building department. It's a small pool. You said you're going to be doing some landscaping, additional landscaping,
Additional
which we could put in the variance.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
They really need to screen their neighbor's
Yeah.
deck and everything from this
Yeah,
end.
no,
So
I mean,
in
it's in their interest to do the screening, for sure. I don't really have a problem with this application. Does anybody else on the board want to speak to it?
No, I think it's modest.
Okay, is there anybody in the audience who wishes to be heard on 308 East Montauk Highway? Anyone on Zoom who wishes to be heard? This is mine, so.
And we have to wait for referrals. I think we have to refer to Suffolk County Planning Commission and Com Board.
Okay.
I'm sorry, what was that, Katie?
We just have to wait on referrals. We can put it on for decision, but sometimes we don't hear from the county.
Okay. Oh, this goes to the county planning board?
Got it. The Suffolk County Planning Commission, because it's on the water.
Okay. And we do have a letter of non-jurisdiction for this project.
Okay.
From the Conservation Board, which was submitted with.
Yep, I saw it in there. The DEC too, right?
Okay.
Yes.
All right, so let's just put it on, and if we have to delay it, we can.
Okay.
So I'm going to move that we hold this open for all purposes for written comments until April 3rd with a decision on April 17th.
Second,
Mr. Leonard?
aye.
Ms. Kane?
Aye.
Mr. Redhead?
Aye.
Mr. McDonald?
Aye.
Ms. Burgess? Chair votes aye. Thank you, Suzanne.
Thank you, Suzanne.
Thank you.
Number 6 on the agenda, the application of Jason Davin, 14 Vale Avenue, East Quogue, Suffolk County Tax Map Number 900-315-3-26. Applicant requests relief from Town Code Section 330-84D Pyramid Law for a total sky plane encroachment to the south of 1,447 cubic feet, 1,272 cubic feet proposed, and 175 cubic feet existing, for a proposed second-story addition to an existing detached garage on a non-conforming lot, and any other relief necessary.
Board has jurisdiction.
Are you an attorney?
No, ma'am.
Okay, let me swear you in. Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Please state your name and address.
My name is Jason Davin. I live at 14 Vale Avenue, East Quogue, New York.
Okay, Jason. So tell us about this application.
So this is a pre-existing structure, already going through the pyramid law, just looking for additional variance through the pyramid law. For just simply storage. It's a detached garage from the house. It came that way when I bought the house, when I bought the residence, 2009. I'm just looking for a little bit more storage because our basement is all crawl except for walk space just for utilities. So just looking for additional storage in the garage area itself.
So you want to increase the ceiling height?
Just gonna go up, yeah, minimum is gonna be 8 feet one, and then it'll be the whole will just be cathedraled, immediately peaking in both directions.
All right, Kevin, I did ask you to take the lead on this. I do have some questions. So
You
wanna
did, but
start?
keep going since you're talking.
All right. This is not to be habitable space,
No, not at all.
correct? All right, so
There's
you
no
went,
water out there. I'm not gonna do
Yeah,
electric.
okay.
It's just gonna be rough framing.
okay. The existing garage looks like it's pretty close to the property line.
Yes, I think it's 6 feet from the property line. It's
Okay.
pre-existing when I bought the house.
Pre-existing,
Yeah.
okay. We didn't have, do we have plans on this?
Yeah, they're just smaller.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, we just have this
Oh,
little.
okay,
You want
okay,
one of
got
these
it.
this evening?
No, that's fine. And you have a certificate of compliance for the garage in 1994, I believe, right? Okay. And you planning to put, well, it's storage, doesn't really matter, but we usually don't like windows looking into neighbors' properties.
I was just for the aesthetics of it, so it doesn't look like a blank wall,
Uh-huh.
just because it would match the structure of the house. So I'm doing the same roofing and siding that's on the house, so it would match.
Okay, and the ceiling height is about
8 foot one
8 foot
at the
1.
peak, but then immediately cathedrals out to the side.
Okay, okay. Kevin, did you take a look at this?
So, I did, and, you know, a couple things struck me. One, you know, the lots, if you wanted to expand the garage any other direction but toward the very close property line that you're near, that would alleviate any pyramid relief you were seeking. It would certainly still give you the storage, and you certainly have enough driveway space for that. I certainly think I understand your preference. I get that, but it would be less of a relief request. So, that's sort of an open question as to is that possible? Is that
I think
under
if you look at the
consideration?
property, because I'm a flag lot, so it goes back.
I'm looking
Yeah,
at the
so
aerial photograph.
if you look at, if I go in towards the property, then I'm going and I'm eliminating the yard space, which would be very large looking actually.
And
And
you
if
can-
I come forward into the driveway, I'm still going to need more relief as well because now it's staying unless I box it out and give it a weird angle, I would have to get a variance to come
What
forward.
what if it went back?
Same thing, because it runs right along the property line. So it would require a variance as well, because it immediately would go through the pyramid law.
Yeah, but it's less pyramid relief, not as a second floor.
I would have to do the number on the square footage exactly, but I presumably, depending on how far out I came.
Yeah.
If I came out I think the garage is 23 feet, or 24 feet. If I added another 10 feet, and when I'd have to do I don't know the numbers, but it would
Yeah, no,
still need a variance, but yes, I guess it would presumably be less.
And then, you know, the other thing about, you know, a second floor that close to the property line, I have no idea what's happening next to you, but at some point in time,
It's a tree farm right now, vacant lot. I'm not sure their plans in the
well,
future.
but the issue is when we
I
approve
hear you.
something, it's approved forever,
I hear
right?
you.
So then if somebody's got a second floor looking over 10 feet into somebody's backyard, who might have wanted privacy from that, that's why you have
Would
setbacks.
it help if I took the windows off the sides of the structure, so it's not, that wouldn't even be an option? It's, like I said, it's simply.
You could take them
storage.
off one side.
Or
if
yeah,
that's
take it off the side
concern.
facing the property, I could do that.
Up by the property line, yeah.
Yeah, the one that faces the property line,
Yeah.
I could just remove that window.
Exactly.
Yeah, I mean, that's not to stop somebody else from putting in a window later, and
No,
nothing
I-
anybody
I-
can do about it. So I, you know, that's why siting matters, right? And I understand you bought the property with the thing there, I get
Yeah,
it.
Stuck with it.
No, I understand.
I just, doing it in any other direction would really eat into the space of the driveway or the yard, and if I made it conforming 10 feet off the property line, it would really look funky. It would look awkward.
Yeah,
Yeah,
so you'd
you
have
can't
to,
do-
you'd have to meet the property line,
Right.
whereas now it's pre-existing, so you don't
Correct.
have to go
Yeah.
to the
And it's
property line.
also, to be honest with you, money is a factor. Going up is a lot easier. Building a whole new slab and structure costs more money. I even tried to
Exactly.
pitch the roof in the opposite direction, but the architect said because of the stretch that it's wider, it would actually, running the rafters across, they'd have to support it exponentially.
Well, with regard to the windows, I wouldn't, I don't think you have to remove, because you've already got two existing windows.
Right.
So just the second floor window.
Okay.
Yeah, that was the concern. you know.
That would be it.
So it wouldn't be on the first floor, but you would
Second
consider
floor window, yeah.
removing the second floor
Absolutely.
window.
Yep.
That would make sense.
Yeah, again,
It doesn't kill me though. Window, no window, I'm not.
this is a modest request. You know, you are somewhat limited and you are living with the existing structure. So I don't really have a problem with it at this point, and particularly in light of the window and that you're going to stipulate it's not habitable space, no cooking, eating, you know, the usual stuff. Anybody else from the board wishes to be heard on this matter? Does anybody in the audience wish to be heard on 14 Vale Avenue? Anybody on Zoom who wishes to be heard on 14 Vale Avenue? Okay, Kevin, do you want to?
Sure.
All right, so you're gonna need revised plans to remove the window.
Yes.
Do you want that submitted?
It could be a written
It could be a
submission.
written submission.
Yeah, written submission. If you
By
can get it in
April 4th.
before the 4th, that'd be great. 3rd,
The-
I'm
the
sorry,
3rd,
April
April
3rd, that'd be
3rd.
great. So I'm going to make a motion to close the hearing for written submission due on April 3rd. With the decision,
April 4th.
I'm sorry, 4th and with the decision for the 17th.
Second,
Mr. McDonald,
Aye.
Mr. Ribbit,
Aye.
Miss Burgess, Mr. Leonard,
aye.
Ms. Kane,
Aye.
Chair votes aye. Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.
Appreciate your time. Thank you.
Number 7 on the agenda, the application of Victor Velasquez Came, 334 Brookhaven Avenue, Flanders, Suffolk County Tax Map Number 900-166-1-27. Applicant requests relief from Town Code Section 330-11.2G1 to allow the total floor area habitable living space in an accessory apartment constructed in the basement of an existing dwelling without the benefit of a building permit to be 55.1% in comparison to the main dwelling where a maximum of 35% is permitted and any other relief necessary.
The board has jurisdiction with a little bit of a caveat. I spoke with the architect on this application. The letter that went out to all of the neighbors telling them that the hearing was today said 3-2025. So there was confusion, you know, today is 20, but it's also 2025. So I had said to the architect, we'll open the application and then we'll keep it open for one more public hearing. So tomorrow, you guys need to resend out certified letters to the neighbors telling them that there'll be a second public hearing.
So there was some confusion on the notice.
It was totally confusing to me until I realized that today is actually the 20th. So then I was like, if there had just been one other
Yeah, okay.
slash, you
Well,
know?
you know, before you say anything, I have to
She's gonna
swear you in.
Okay.
Are you an attorney?
No.
Okay, let me swear you both in. Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? Okay, please state your name and addresses separately.
I am Deborah Schomburger. I'm with Eric Pelletier Architect's Office.
Okay.
Deborah, just spell your last name for the record.
SCHAMBER. Mr. Pelletier had a conflict. He has a major meeting up in Niantic, Connecticut, so.
Okay, well, you're substituting. Okay, and your
Yes.
name?
My name is Victor Velasquez. I live in 334 Brookhaven Avenue, Flanders, New York.
Okay. Okay, so you wanted to make a comment.
Yeah, there were two neighbors that did call me in to just ratify the confusion that you
The
just
date,
mentioned about. And
yeah.
I told them, the one that called, that there was today.
Okay,
So they just didn't kind of hesitate or anything. They
Huh.
even said that they will not come in, but they just want to make sure that today was today.
okay, but you know, legally, let's do it the right
Yeah.
way, because we don't want there to be any questions in the future. So we'll leave it open, and we'll adjourn this until the next, but let's hear the application
Yes.
today.
Sure.
Okay, so, all right, Debbie, do you want to
Yeah, so,
tell us about the
basically, we're requesting to maintain the accessory apartment in the existing house basement. The plans have been submitted here tonight. The existing house has a valid C of O number 3506 dated April 5th, 1973. The accessory apartment variance request is part of the application process. The house is occupied by the owner, Mr. Velasquez, who is here. The owner has reviewed the requirements for the accessory apartment if granted, and permits to be issued from the building department. Has already upgraded his sanitary system to the new innovative IAOST septic as per Suffolk County Health Department for increase in bedroom count. He will have a total of 6 bedrooms, or has a total of 6 bedrooms, and this system was designed for that. So it's the new system.
So the septic is a new system.
Yes.
Yep. So, and the existing house has a basement entrance at the rear of the existing garage, so.
Okay, we did, you know, I never got any plans on this, Katie, prior to this meeting, so there was no way for me to check what the percentages were. You know, like you said, it's like 50% of the size of that, so I never got an opportunity to take a look at that. So another good reason why we should adjourn the, yeah, okay. So, all right, so this is basically, you're asking to legalize or to grant a variance for the basement, and instead of 35%, you're looking for 50-ish percent.
No, I believe Mr. Pelletier has the exact number. We worked towards the number. He was corresponding with the town, and he knew the number was required, but this was more to his understanding that there's an abatement with Riverhead, with the school district, for,
Oh, is this a development right? Like,
Yeah,
is it getting, you know, is it a town development right needs to be relinquished? for
yes,
this- for
something
this-
like that.
I'm certain that should be in our packets.
It is.
Yeah, so no, you're here,
Yeah.
there is one here. Yeah,
You're not
no,
here
he's-
for that reason.
No, you're here
Okay.
because because
Okay.
the apartment is larger than what is
Well,
permitted.
That's, John, do you want to start us off on this?
Sure, I mean, it is quite over what's allowed legally, but I saw the basement, you know, looking at the plans and stuff, to be honest with you, it didn't bother me what it is, except I think we should really hear from the neighbors. And anybody who wants to come in and talk about it.
Yeah, I would agree.
I
Yeah.
feel similar.
I mean, the fact that it's in the basement
Yeah. it doesn't-
changes it for me.
Yeah,
me too.
it's not like a separate structure.
It's not a separate structure, which is larger than what,
Right.
you know,
Yeah,
it's,
all the egress
it's
windows and
55% of
stuff.
the house because it's half the house.
Yeah, I felt about it, exactly
Yeah.
the same thing.
Yeah.
I do
And-
think we need to hear from, I think the advertisement's very important, and that we hear from,
Do we have a problem with parking? Do we have is that on the
No, we,
I don't see any comments about
survey?
it.
No, I don't think we have a survey either.
Yeah, usually we like to see what the parking, there's a certain kind of parking requirement. So we should see that noted on a survey, and we do need a survey. Katie, I don't think we have.
I think that Candace has one, but you didn't all get, no?
We don't have the survey either.
This whole application came in when Candace was out. So,
Okay,
So
well,
there
that's,
was no survey, there were no plans. So she brought the plans tonight, but I do have to confirm with the architect
Okay.
the date because he had a conversation with Arthur Gerhauser, the principal building inspector, which I do remember, because I have a note
And these may
here.
change.
They may have, this plan, actually, if you look, it says 50, was it 50?
55.1.
Well, the advertisement says 55.1, but the plan, I think, says 54 something.
Oh, okay.
I just saw it. Oh, no, this plan does say 55. So that means he probably just didn't change the date.
all right, so we need updated plans that accurately reflect what the size of the accessory apartment is relative to the principal structure. So we need to update
And a survey.
and we need a survey. And that's gonna need to show where the parking is to accommodate the house and the accessory apartment.
Right.
Is anyone residing in the apartment now?
Yes.
How many people?
4.
Okay.
and how many bedrooms are down there? One or two?
Two.
2 bedrooms? Okay.
Yeah.
2 bedrooms, right?
2 bedrooms.
Okay, so we need clarification and update on the plans and the survey. We
Okay.
need a copy of the survey. You need to put a new notice out, correct?
Yes.
Just just mailing, like they did
Yeah.
before, the certified mail to the neighbors again.
Or mail it, not put the sign on the property.
The sign is fine, because you have the sign up already.
Yeah,
It's
it's
just-
Yeah, but except that you should change the date, because the date's gonna be today's date on
Well,
the sign.
we never make people change the date on the signs. It's just the mailing will say this public hearing will continue on April,
Okay,
whatever
fine.
the date is.
All right, so you don't have to change the sign, but
4
you have to get the mailing.
dash something
Yes,
dash
yes,
2025.
Can you clarify when you put in the new septic system? Or when do you think that went in roughly? I don't need the exact date, I'm just trying to understand when that
It
happened.
was around October.
October
October
24?
2024, yes.
Okay. I'm asking because I want to be sure that the flow from 6 bedrooms actually is designed for the system that you have installed, so.
No,
It
it's,
was.
this is
It
why
was,
we,
because 6 bedrooms, and he has 4 upstairs.
That's why I asked, thank you.
Well, that would be also on the survey. We're gonna see that,
Mhm.
where the septic is on the survey, so. All right, so there's a little bit of homework on this. John,
So we'll,
let me ask, is there anybody, and go ahead.
Just those plans are the updated plans. He didn't change the
Okay.
date on them, so
Okay.
we'll see that he does his homework.
Yeah, okay. Is there anyone in the audience who wishes to be heard on 334 Brookhaven? Is there anyone on Zoom who wishes to be heard on 334 Brookhaven?
And also, I just want to add, when we do get the survey, I wanted to go over it with Candace, because I wanted to make sure that we do those calculations. Remember, we had it at the last time, like the lot area is
Right.
22.5, and we have to make sure that it's 70% or 80%. Like, I just want to make sure we add that, because there's also, we only advertised it for the size of the apartment, and I think that those things might need to just go under any other relief necessary. They already exist, but I think because we didn't have the
Oh, you
survey.
mean the coverage?
Not the coverage, the one that says the lot has to be a minimum of,
Oh, 30,000.
Right.
correct. or
Yeah,
20.
and there's it's in the
It's in the
application.
application,
Yeah,
correct.
on page
That's
3.
when I looked through it, I was like,
Yeah.
I just
Okay.
want to confirm it on the
Okay,
survey.
because your lot size has to be a certain amount to accommodate an accessory
Yeah,
apartment.
they want a variance for 55% of the 22,000.
Yeah, so we have to
Okay.
verify that, in fact, you've got the right amount of acreage, of square footage for your lot. Otherwise, we have to grant another variance for that,
okay,
okay?
right.
So that's why we need the survey.
Just to be clear, you said that you think you'll be fine with the accessory apartment if we meet all the requirements that you're saying right now, although it's slightly bigger, as you said, you'll be fine with that.
I think you're not meeting a lot of resistance here. Sounds
Yeah.
like everybody is pretty positive. Again, mostly because it's in the basement,
Right,
and, it's half of the basement, half of the
Yeah,
structure.
it's half of the, it would be very different if it was a separate structure.
right,
Yeah, freestanding would be really difficult.
okay. Just
And it's a
learning.
laudable goal. You're providing housing.
Right,
We're
right,
fine
right,
with that.
right, okay, thank you.
Okay, so John, this is yours.
all right, so we're gonna leave it open to 4-4.
Second.
No, we're gonna do
We're gonna
written,
adjourn it.
written,
And the writing submissions?
Oh, we're gonna bring them back for the
We're gonna
neighbors.
bring
We're
them
gonna
back.
Yeah,
adjourn the
we have
public hearing to the next meeting.
To
We're
four,
gonna notify the neighbors.
Adjourn it to 4/4.
okay, got it,
three.
4-3.
got it, right, 4-4-4-3. We're gonna adjourn until 4-3.
Second.
Second, all right, Mr.
Aye.
Martin,
Do
Mr.
you need
McDonald.
me to be here? Because I have to go to visit my mom that she's in surgery and she will have.
Your
You
representative
have a
can come.
representative.
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't think
Eric,
it, yeah, I think that, you know, you'll have answered a lot of the questions by then, and if you have a representative, that'll be fine.
Okay.
Okay.
We wish you the best with your mom.
Thank you very much.
Mr. McDonald,
Aye.
Ms. Burgess, Mr. Leonard,
Aye.
Ms. Kane,
Aye.
chair votes aye. Thank you very much.
Thank you both.
4-4, 4-3.
4-3. Okay. Number 8 on the agenda.
4/3.
Oh, my God. The application of Luis A. Idrovo Orgiles, 12 Ocean Avenue, Hampton Bays, Suffolk County Tax Map Number 900-260-2-19.1. Applicant requests relief of the following provisions of the Town Code. 1, for proposed pool and spa, Section 330-6 General Regulations that references Section 330-11 Residence District Table of Dimensional Regulations for an accessory distance from street setback from 50 feet to 7.8 feet and an accessory rear yard setback from 10 feet to 6.6 feet. And 2, Section 330-76D, placement of accessory building structures and uses in all districts in 330-83C yards to allow the pool to be located within the required front yard for the principal building. 2, for a proposed outdoor kitchen, Section 330-6 that references Section 330-11 for an accessory rear yard setback from 10 feet to 3.9 feet. And 3, for proposed cabana, Section 330-6 that references Section 330-11 for an accessory side yard setback from 10 feet to 5 feet and an accessory rear yard setback from 10 feet to 5.2 feet, and Section 330-84D Pyramid Law for a total sky plane encroachment in the amount of 306 cubic feet, 204 cubic feet on the east and 102 cubic feet on the north on a non-conforming lot, and any other relief necessary.
Board has jurisdiction.
Are either of you attorneys? Okay, let me swear you in. Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Please state your name and address.
Luis Itrobo, 12 Ocean Avenue, Canton Bay, New York.
Thank you, Luis.
Linda Secafico. Do you want me to spell that?
I think so.
S-E-C-C-A-F-I-C-O.
S-E. Yes.
Associates. And my office is at 500 Montauk Highway in Mauritius, 11955.
Okay, thank you. Linda, are you going to tell us about the application?
I'm.
Or Luis, who wants to?
He'll answer.
Yes, no, absolutely. You can share, but somebody has to start. So.
Okay, we're here, I just want to show you some photographs of the home and the rear yard.
Wait a second. Did you submit those to Candace yet? Oh, okay, because she needs to stamp them in.
Okay.
Sure. All right, she's not here right now.
Just
Just photos.
Yeah, you can circulate them. We'll just make sure Candace gets them back.
All right, yeah.
Okay, just to show you
Okay, we'll
how
share.
well maintained the home is and the situation with the rear yard. Being the existing house has 2 front yards, he's very limited in his area of where he can propose his pool and his pool cabana, and he'd like to have a little outdoor kitchen. So the relief that was stated is what we're asking for. And I don't know if Louis has anything more to add to that.
Okay, John, this is yours.
Pass it to you. You can open
Oh,
up.
thank you so much. A lot of relief. You know, it's a small lot.
Yes.
I know you're burdened by 2 front yards. Katie, what's considered the rear yard in this? Would it be the one that's the shortest? Be the one off of?
Well, it's wherever we've asked for it, right? So an accessory rear yard setback wherever there's a 6.6, looks like it's over
Rear
here,
yard would be here.
here, at the top of the survey.
Let me just get the survey, wherever it is. Hello, where are you?
Right, because we're asking for an accessory distance from street setback from 50.7 and an accessory rear yard setback from 10 to 6.6.
All right, because I have a question about rear yard coverage. Seems like there's an awful lot going in here on rear yard coverage.
Yep.
And so to me, it sounds like you're trying to put a lot of accessory structures in.
Well, the town board wants your accessory structures in the rear yard.
I
think
understand.
the coverage is like 50%.
What was that?
But we don't have what the calculation is what I'm saying. You know, do we have a rear yard coverage calculation?
Yeah, I'll ask Candace when she comes in. I don't,
We have a lot coverage.
Yeah.
But I don't see what I understand it's 50%. It just seems like there's a lot.
It might even be more. I don't know if that's in the required rear. I don't know what the number is.
All right, well, we need to get
I
some
share your
clarification.
concern. There's an awful lot going on here. And
Yeah, I mean, it's a beautifully maintained house. It looks beautiful. It really does. You've done a really good job. But it's a very small area that you're trying to put a lot of stuff in. And I just have some real hesitations. I mean, have you heard from the neighbors?
No, we haven't heard anything from the neighbors.
So on that, just because I went to the site.
Yeah.
The posting for the signs on both streets, I understand the challenge you had because your shrubbery goes right to the end of the road. But anybody driving by would probably not see the signs for the posting.
On Poplar.
And they're behind the screening. So, the requirement is, that anybody going by or walking or riding a bike or driving should be able to see a notice that something's going on. And I don't know if anybody else had the same concern. I don't know if we need to do anything, repost or something like that. But, if people are here and they say something or nothing, then I'll feel less concerned. But I just want to be sure that the posting is correct and people had a fair opportunity to be heard on something that might concern them in their neighborhood.
Right. And you got your certified, letters out, and you've got all of that with you.
I handed them to Candace yesterday.
Yeah.
So my reaction, since I have the floor, I'll finish just real quickly. I think you need to ask yourself, of the three things you're proposing in your backyard, which one what do you really think is most important? And can you work around redesigning some other things just because it's a tremendous amount of stuff in a small area?
That would be a question you'd have to get.
Right. I think the concern from this board, what I'm hearing, I don't know if anybody else wants to speak up differently, but I'm reacting the same as Kevin. I think it's a lot to put in the backyard and in the rear yard. Candace, what is the rear yard coverage?
Rear yard coverage?
Yeah, 50%?
50%.
Yeah.
50%.
Yeah, I know, but we don't have a calculation on this property here for what he's proposing, do we? I don't see it. So we would need to know what that is, but even with I think it's more than 50%.
Without question.
Yeah, without question, it's more than 50%. But, so I think the point is that, I think Kevin's point is well taken. It's got two front yards, there has to be some accommodation for you but it's too much. And if you had to come up with a different plan, what would it include? And, what would you give up?
Pool smaller.
Well, the pool is small, but this pool's small, but you've got a kitchen, you've got a cabana, you got, if there was
I
one thing,
understand.
what is it that you would want? Okay?
There's too much stuff back
I mean,
there.
does anybody
no,
else
it's
have
just-
a different opinion on the board?
That's the small.
It's a lot. If
think
there's
that
a way to
pool's close to the
reduce
street.
somehow.
Yeah.
There's three structures, well, not three structures, but a pool and two structures.
It doesn't matter, I can put the pool back up the street a little bit.
And, as
here we go.
Mr. Repin says, the pool is close to the street.
Where's your septic system?
In the front.
In the front?
Which front? Ocean?
Yeah, the ocean. Yeah, ocean.
They to know exactly where the septic is, we would have to FOIL the county, the health department. Because when the surveyor did this survey, we did it as existing conditions, and we don't see under the ground. So if you want to know the location of the septic, unless you have something
Yeah,
in
no,
your
yeah,
records
yeah, I have
where it
right.
is.
Yeah.
But,
It was more concern about if you cover your backyard as much as you're proposing to cover it, which I don't think too many people are loving.
Oh,
It's over your septic system even.
I just wanted to say to the board, it's definitely gonna be over 50%. Because technically his rear yard, if I'm not mistaken, is going to be, because he has the corner,
Yeah,
so his rear yard, if I'm not mistaken, is going to be, I
the top
believe,
part.
maybe right here where the front of the house is, and then goes back.
Yeah.
I don't think it's, or I'll talk to Chuck, we'll dig.
Oh, in other words, so it cuts through the pool.
It might cut through, it might cut
So-
through the pool. This is gonna be their front yard here.
Yeah, so in addition to everything else, if the pool is in the front yard, because the corner of the house, that also would require a variance. So that it's, right, Katie?
I wasn't listening to what Candace said. Is the pool in the front yard or the rear yard?
We're thinking that the front yard extends from the corner of the house back, and then the rear yard is like just that smaller section. So it cuts through the pool and over to the cabana.
so the front yard is Poplar Street?
Well, it says it. It says to allow the pool to be located within the required front yard.
Right, right. So that's another variance that we would need
No,
to
it's
do.
not, it's advertised for that.
Okay, okay.
Yeah.
But
We
it-
do need the rear yard coverage, yeah, on the survey. And that'll help you, because then you'll just say that's, it exceeds 50%, so we're not willing
Find
to
out how
grant
much
it.
it exceeds 50% and whether or not we're willing to grant a variance for that relief.
And if you had an alternative to, that you would want us to consider, that would be helpful as
like
well.
reducing the size of the pool, or the cabana, or
Right, right.
deleting
Or
one or
eliminating,
the other. Right.
yeah, right, eliminating something.
It
Because
seems like the
clearly,
cabana could be smaller.
but whatever, we're not trying to like design for you, but we're just giving you what our,
Alternatives.
yeah, things to look
understand.
at.
And if the cabana is covered, there's a question of whether, you're exceeding that. This is showing a proposed lot coverage of 24%, but I don't know if that includes everything that the town classifies as coverage. So we would need that clarified too. Because then you have total lot coverage as well as the backyard lot coverage.
Okay.
Okay, yeah, so if it's covered, it has to be included as part, calculated into the coverage for the site, in addition to the rear yard.
In this instance, covered is a roof. The cabana with a roof would be coverage like a house's coverage on a lot. But the pool might not necessarily be.
Well, I
Pool
think
is
that's
for
where the
habitable
difference is
space.
coming,
Right,
from
right.
19.2 to 24. It's for the cabana.
The cabana brings you to 24. That also explains why you're having a hard time fitting everything there, because it's an awful lot of a lot.
Okay, any other questions from the board?
No.
Okay, anyone in the audience who wishes to be heard on 12 Ocean Avenue, Hampton Bays? Anybody on Zoom who wishes to be heard? Okay, John, do you
So,
want to?
I'm sorry, can we just get one last thing clarified? Do we want to request that while all that other work is getting done, that the actual signs on the street be reposted?
These
I don't think we
look
need to
that
do that. We
problematic
looked at the
to me.
pictures. They
Okay.
look fine to us.
And in particular, make sure that, they've got the letters out, so hopefully
Yeah.
people.
Yeah. It is
Okay, so I'm going to
Candace needs
suggest,
those.
I would like to we're going to hold this open.
And these, I think. Are these
When
for
would you
this?
like to come back? We have a few different dates. 4/3, 4/17, or 5/1? How much time do you think you
What
need?
is good for you? We have to,
We do, but we need like an architect to do something, or you only have to.
Yeah, you're gonna have to,
there's a couple of different issues. you have to decide, maybe you can delete from this, like only do the pool and not the outdoor kitchen and the cabana, because your rear lot coverage is going to exceed the 50%.
But the cabana, if I make it a little bit smaller, then it will be
Well,
fine.
you have to look at what the rear yard coverage is, and if you reduce things, does that get closer to what the target is or not?
You don't have to decide that right now. They're
Yeah,
gonna
yeah,
come
yeah.
back.
We're just giving
We
you
just want to know, right now, it's a date,
when he
so
wants
I
to
think maybe,
return.
maybe 5/1, maybe May 1st, come back. It gives you a little over a month to figure out what you're doing.
Okay.
Okay, so I move to hold the hearing on this application open to May 1st.
Is there a second?
Anyone? Oh, there you go.
Mr. Leonard?
Aye.
Julie Sleeper.
Mr. McDonald?
Aye.
Mr. Redhand?
Aye.
Ms. Kane?
Aye.
Ms. Burgess? Chair votes aye. Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Number 10 on the agenda, application of Gary Fitterman, 645 Dune Road, West Hampton, Suffolk County Tax Map number 900-391-2-25.1.
How are you?
Yeah.
Good to see you.
Anyone? Gary Fitterman?
Could be Ryan Kesner. Is Ryan on Zoom?
There he
Okay.
is. Fitterman. Fitterman.
Good evening, board members. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can. And I think I've sworn you in, haven't I?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so please state your name and address again.
My name is Ryan T. Kessner, Principal Ryan T. Kessner Architect PC, 509 County Road 39, Southampton, New York.
Okay, so tell us where we're at on this application.
So this is the Fitterman residence, which has been here for a little while, as you know. We have taken the board's wishes into heart, and so we've reduced everything accordingly, and I believe that was demonstrated to you guys the last time we were here. But just to refresh your memories.
Okay.
Can you see my screen?
Yes.
Yeah, if I can put my glasses on, maybe. It's up. I can't see it, but it's up, yeah. Okay, go ahead.
All right, well, in a nutshell, what we did was we reduced the first floor by 6%, the second floor by 11%, and the lower level by 8%. The original footprint was 3,789 square feet, and we went down to 3,089, reducing it by 18.5%. We also retreated back from the dune here. The original depth was 78.5, we went down to 69.8, and we reduced it by about 11.2% as well. In addition to that, we also reduced the pyramid request over here. The original pyramid request was 2,987 square feet. We're now at 2,579 square feet. So almost a 14% reduction there as well.
Could you just go through those numbers one more time, please? The original was what?
The original, here, let me pull it up for you.
Okay.
You can see it a little bit. The original was 2,987 cubic feet. The proposed now is 2,579 square feet. So that gives us a reduction of almost 14%, 13.67 to be exact.
Okay.
You want to hear the other ones as well, ma'am?
Yes.
So
Okay.
can I ask a point of clarification?
Sure.
So we're getting an audio at great distance, barely readable series of plans. And are we going to go through like this version and then we're going to get a formal submission, or what are we doing? Because
Well, this was submitted to the board. It was
Yeah.
submitted,
I don't have that.
And then what happened was we had to go together to natural resources, and then a couple other steps that had to be retained. And then we had an issue with the lot line because it wasn't recorded correctly with the county. So that's why we had a delay. But from your last meeting, I believe Mike Rubenstein was the presenter. Nothing has changed from that.
Okay.
From those,
Yeah,
I wasn't,
It's-
okay, thank you.
Ryan, what's the date of these plans?
I mean, that's not a big deal at all.
Ryan, what's the last revised date of the plans?
The last revised would have been 06/21/22, I believe, it should be.
No,
Can't
Oh, I'm sorry,
possibly be.
08/6/24, excuse me.
that's not, that's right, okay.
What is it, 8 what?
August sixth, 2024.
8/6/24.
Right, it's on, yeah,
Yeah, I can't really have a file on this anymore.
okay, good.
I'll make sure.
Yeah, the reason I was asking is I wasn't sure what we were looking at, so thank you. Thank you for clarifying.
Whatever I can do for you, sir.
Okay,
All right, so let's go back.
okay. And we have a revised survey, correct?
And we have a revised survey too, and we have squeezed every last inch out of the site that we possibly can. The proposed reductions, for the minutes that would like to hear it, we reduced it by an additional 141 square feet by 6% for the first floor, 221 square feet or 11.3% for the second floor, giving us a total of 371 square feet or 8.4 total. And then the lower level, we reduced it by another 140 square feet for another 8%. So our original footprint was 3789, and now our proposed footprint is 33089. The reduction is about 700 square feet, which gives us a reduction of 18.5%. So we have done everything that we possibly can to reduce this. In addition, the original depth from the dune was 78.5. We're now putting it at 69.8, which is a reduction of 11.2% as well. So we've really gone as far as much as we possibly can with bringing this thing all together for you guys and trying to help you. In addition, we have taken the sanitary system, and we can give this to you guys as well. And we have jammed it as close as we possibly can without having to go for state variances and things of that nature. There's just no more room left at all. The only areas of question still are the leaching alleys for the rainwater. One department is asking for them to be on the side yard, on the side yard. The other department is asking for it to go underneath the deck. So once we have that clarity, we'll be happy to do whichever one. In addition, we're going to be hiring a landscape designer to help us with the revegetation as per their request. We also have North.
And that's the request of the Conservation Board, is that correct?
Yes,
Yeah,
yes, we have to do the CDI in the wetlands as well.
Okay.
So it's a two-step over there. So we have a response from North Star Engineering. They're going to be handling all the items with regards to conservation and wetlands. And if you read through this, it's basically all the same stuff that we just spoke about. We've done everything that we possibly can to try to get this. So one area that is a little bit of contentious here is with regards to the pool. Now, one, I don't remember if it was Marty or Janice, one of them had suggested that we do a rooftop pool. We're not doing a rooftop pool for this house, no way. It's 3,200 square feet and we violate the pyramid right away. So we'd be in more non-conformity, with the railing and everything else. It won't happen. There's no way. What we do have is we have proposed a pool for the exterior right here, which again, we reduced the whole setback here by 8 foot 9 or 11.2%. So we're absolutely retreated from the dune as much as we possibly can. And I guess I'll leave it there with your comments.
What's the size of the pool?
The size of the pool is 25 by 10.
And what's the distance from the crest of the dune?
The original depth used to be 78.5. We now made it 69.8. So we increased it by 8 foot 9 or 11%, 11.2.
I'd like to see you do better there, both on the deck and the pool, just to get it out.
All right. Well, I have to say that, Ryan, I think you've really worked hard on this. You certainly put an effort into trying to make some reductions at our suggestion, and I think it's really very admirable. I think the crest of the dune is an issue, but the rest of it looks pretty good to me. I don't know. How's the
think
board
it
have any
sounds
other
great.
reactions? Yes.
Can I ask
Yes,
something?
go ahead, Helen, yes.
Anthony there,
Yes, Anthony is here.
Okay.
I came to comment because I know at one point, as they said, Mr. Shea and Janice had some comments. So I'd like to hear how each of the comments that they had made have, if possible, I'd like to see how Mr. Kessner has responded. Because I heard how he responded about Mr. Shea's comment about the pool being on the roof. And if that's the same attitude that he has for any of the other comments or requests of changes. And I want to know, does Anthony, can he help us or help me in this matter? Anthony, are you able to do that?
Yeah, not Helen, not Anthony. Anthony isn't going to testify to this. I mean, it's not appropriate. We can ask. Listen, we can ask Brian. I was going to ask Brian to just do a written submission and confirm what variances he needs, because
Right.
I've been trying to compare it to the
Right.
to the write-up. And in that submission, he can address, he can explain how he addressed Marty and Janice's comments, because I don't have it in front of me, but certainly Anthony can't do that.
I do have their comments. They're extensive from May of 2024, some of which have been addressed and some of which, but as I said, I mean, they said, like, current plans for the first floor swimming pool should be abandoned in favor of a rooftop. And he has basically said they don't want to do a rooftop. That would, of course, then ask us for additional pyramid relief. So that puts the pyramid relief on us. And I don't know. I mean, there may be other reasons why they don't want to do a rooftop.
May I interject?
Yes, go ahead, Ryan.
Okay, so let me, I want to share something with you, something additional here. Okay, so this is our house right here. Okay, we're already reducing, and we're back here with regards to our new structure. So we're already reducing our way back from the crest of the dune. Now, with regards to the pools, you can see a pool here, way further ahead. Pool here, way further ahead. Pool, further ahead. Pool. Now, these guys have come back, just like we have. They've come back. They've come back. This happens all along Dune Road. I mean, this guy's on the side, we don't have that option here, but these guys here all have set back as far as they can, just like we have.
Is that the village? Is that the village
These
of,
guys are all the way out here.
is that the village of West Hampton Dunes, or is that still in the town of Southampton?
Oh, this is the town of Southampton right there. This is the long, right along, yeah, West Hampton Dunes is further down. But that's the general area there. And I mean, we're on a very narrow line, and we've done everything within our power to pull this thing back and do what we can. So, I don't know if that helps you.
Well, and as I indicated, my own personal feeling is that I think you've done a good job of trying to address our concerns. But I agree with Katie. It would be helpful if we could get a very precise, exactly what the variance requests are right now, because we're going, you're throwing out a lot of numbers. We need like a written statement from you, which really summarizes it.
Susan, may I ask something? A little thing that I'm confused.
Of course.
Ryan mentioned that the material that he's presenting was created, and tell me if I'm wrong, on August 6th, 2024. So if that's the case, and I'm trying to refresh my recollection, it was adjourned from October 24th to today. So at the last hearing on October, there was changes that he was supposed to create, and I haven't heard the word that since October we have done A, B, and C. I'm only hearing what was done in August, which we already saw in October. And if that's the case, then he hasn't made any alterations from October. And that was presumably the reason for the adjournment till today. So if that my confusion can be unconfused, Mr. Kessler, I'd appreciate it.
Yeah, no problem. So the board back then did not request any additional changes on the plans. They were asking about our status going forward with the CHOP permit and the wetlands and DEC and anything of that nature.
Right.
And the health department. And what held us up again over that was the Army Corps of Engineers and I'll demonstrate it for you here. It was the setback, the lot lines. Bear with me 1 second here. Moving around a little bit.
So I think it's a really good idea to ask for a detailed written response from the CHA administrator as to how you accommodated those requests of changes or whether you rejected them in your proposal. I would love to see that.
And so would I.
The issue, the lot line issue is this area right here, which was donated to the Army Corps of Engineers. But what happened was the Suffolk County didn't have it recorded properly, so we had to go through a whole process to figure that out and get that to work. Now it's raised by the health department, and now we have health department approval pending the CI and any wetlands and conservation. So that's what actually held us up till now. But I certainly can provide a variance, a precise request of what we're doing. That's not a problem. And then I could also provide the letter that North Star has prepared as well for you guys.
That would be helpful.
Yes.
Right.
I will underscore my concern that I appreciate that it's a constrained lot and you want to put a lot there, but I think it's still too close to the dune and I think you have too much activity going on, still too close to the dune crest. Way far of the coastal erosion hazard area line. And I'm going to persistently beat that drum all the way to a decision.
Okay.
Now, may I say also, Susan, when Mr. Kesner, hopefully this case will be adjourned, because I really want to look at those documents very closely when he presents them. I wonder if it's possible that he can present to us the comments that Janice and Mr. Shea made, and he could show me, I'm particularly interested, how he addressed each and every one of those comments, so that I would know. I know he stressed how much he's done, but those comments are very important to me, and I would like to hear what he has done in terms of those comments. Thank you, if he could do that for me.
And to answer the question, I mean, the CHA line is back there, it's actually behind the house. And then our flood zone is over here, and our dune is way out here, so. And trying to get behind this line is not happening, and we couldn't do it if we wanted to, because of the sanitary.
That's something. Could you answer what I just said? I asked you if you can prepare that when you come.
Yeah, I said that a couple of times, I'll be happy to, ma'am.
Thank you very much, thank you.
You're welcome.
Right, and including your consultant's response, which will be helpful as well.
Thanks.
Okay.
It'll be a joint venture with both of us.
Yeah. Okay.
So that way you're not getting.
Right, exactly. You know, partly he'll respond and partly you'll respond. Okay.
Yeah, we'll both respond.
Okay. So I'm thinking that we need to, I'm sorry to say, adjourn this again. But so let's summarize what we want. We want a reaction to the letters on file with regard from Janice and from Marty Shea. And that can be a combination of yourself and your consultant. And we want a precise statement as to the variances that you are now have deduced and what you're actually asking for at this point. Is there anything, did I miss anything?
No, I think that's.
No, I'm gonna do that. I'm just trying to get some clarification before we do that. Katie, did I miss anything?
Nope.
Okay. All right, so now I'm going to ask the audience, is there anybody in the audience who wishes to be heard on 645 Dune Road in West Hampton? Anybody on Zoom who wishes to be heard on 645 Dune Road?
Go on Zoom.
Okay, so Ryan, you have your assignment, and how much time do you think you need?
What is it?
4/17 is our first date,
Yeah, 4/17 is the first, and then it go to May 1st.
May 15th.
All right, let's go to 4/17 then.
Okay, so I'm going to propose that we adjourn until 4/17.
Second.
Mr. Leonard?
Aye.
Ms. Kane?
Aye.
Mr. Redmond?
Aye.
Mr. McDonald?
Aye.
Ms. Burgess?
I
Right, chair votes aye. Okay, thank you, Ryan.
Thank you.
Bye.
Number 11 on the agenda, the application of Brian Farrell, 11 Robbins Lane, North Sea, Suffolk County Tax Map Number 900-62-1-10.
Alvin Acosta, 860 Montauk Highway, Watermill, New York, for the applicant. Good evening, Madam Chair, members of the board. This has been held over for some time, and there are new members of the board that were not here when this was originally
All right.
proposed. So I think it would be good just to go over the basics of the application.
I think so.
This lot is an incredibly burdened lot located on Robbins Lane in North Sea. Although the lot is 19,826 square feet in size, pursuant to Conservation Board approvals for the development of this home, the wetlands preservation area is 9,767 square feet. And beyond that is an additional buffer and wetland setback, leaving the actual building portion of the lot to be just over 4,000 square feet. That's in the R40 zoning district. In addition, there is
All right,
a
go ahead. What was that again? The buildable portion is what?
just over, the area itself, I can get you an exact reading, but it's about 4,300, 4,500 square feet. That, combined with the unique shape of the lot, it's narrow in one end, wider in the other, and the fact that although it's not at a traditional intersection, it is a corner lot, and that Robbins Lane runs along the south and the west portions of the lot. Create a situation where the building envelope is incredibly constrained, the lot is incredibly burdened, and relief is going to be required no matter what you do there. The home being requested is a modest one. It is roughly 1,400 square feet above grade. The footprint, let's get the revised plans.
Above grade.
Above grade, there's a finished basement. So the first the first floor is, the second floor is 534 square feet. The first floor is 936 square feet. So again, a modest structure. There is a garage which was originally proposed detached, and subsequent considerations after we've had previous meetings, we moved that proposed garage to be attached to the home, making it no longer an accessory structure. Although the relief that you read in the, quite vast that you read in the agenda, I would note that since that was originally published, the relief has been scaled back quite a bit.
You're going to go through that for
I'm
us.
doing that right now.
Perfect.
The actual relief being sought is the pyramid relief of 2,619 cubic feet.
Go slowly.
Sure.
2,000.
619 cubic feet to construct that two-story principal dwelling. Relief of 17.7 feet to construct a two-story dwelling to a front yard setback of 12.3, where 30 feet is required. Now, under R40 zoning, it's a 60-foot setbacks, but in light of the wetlands burden and the requirements of the Conservation Board, we are entitled to relief from 330.83K, reducing that setback, the front yard setback, from 60 to 30 feet. So the relief is actually 12.3 17.7 feet.
So you're asking for a 17.7 feet
Front yard setback.
relief, where this front yard setback will be actually at 12?
12.3, where 30 is required, and again, that's 30 because of 330/83K.
Okay. And that's on Robbins.
That's
It's on-
well, it's all Robbins.
It's all Robbins, yeah, it's on the
It's on the,
west.
I guess it's the north-south span of Robbins.
Okay, north-south, right, okay, got it.
Um,
It says 12.1 here, is that,
so, well, I have a revised survey that I'll send out shortly.
oh, I thought you, oh, all right, not the stuff that we were given tonight.
There's a new revised survey, which we just received today,
Oh, okay.
which reflects the changes. And I wasn't sure whether to hand
Of
it out.
course, you
in the
just
beginning.
received it today.
We did just receive, I'll check the date. You want me to give
I've
this
got
to
one that
Kevin?
says 3/5/25, is that the one?
Yeah, that's what we have.
That's what we have,
Is
3/5/20.
that some 3/5, well, that's a site plan, that's not the survey.
All right, where's the survey?
Survey is here.
Okay, perfect, all right. Okay, site plan said 12.1. All right, so we're going with the survey.
Yeah, the survey's the way to go, and it's coming around.
Okay, good.
Relief of 9.4 feet to construct a two-story dwelling to a rear yard setback of 25.6 feet where 35 is required. In R40, it's usually 70, but again, relief pursuant to 330/83K gives us that 50%.
Go through that one again.
Sure. Relief of 9.4 feet to construct a two-story dwelling to a rear yard setback of 25.6 where 35 is required.
Okay.
Hold on, let's look at these on the survey.
Do them again while you have the survey.
Yeah,
Probably
one
makes
more
sense.
time, hold on, let me just.
Okay. All right, I see the 12.3.
We've got,
12.3 is that north-south span. You
Yep.
see it there.
Yeah,
25.6 is the east-west span of Robbins.
Yep.
You see it there.
to the proposed garage,
That's right.
okay?
To allow for now the fourth piece of relief is to allow for a principal dwelling to be located within corner clearance. There's about 25 square feet of that garage in the corner clearance.
that's an improvement.
It is. Well, that's because we moved the garage into the house.
Correct.
And to allow a deck with a height greater than 1 feet within the required front yard. And that's that entrance deck that you can see on the survey. It provides access to the lot considering
here it is.
the grade.
Okay.
Is that the deck with the stairs?
That's exactly right.
Okay, and do you need that 11.6, do you need relief there? No, because it's now 11.6?
No, well, the deck is not the house, so.
Okay,
It's just an elevated.
you're fine.
Exactly.
And what was the rear yard again? Where's that?
Sure, the rear yard, remember, in lots like this waterfront, the rear yard is actually the front yard.
Front
Right.
yard, yeah.
So the rear yard is 25.6.
Okay, that's the 25.6.
Yes, that's
Okay, okay.
So, in addition to those setbacks is the pyramid relief,
2619.
2619. Now, that's
Okay.
been reduced by 60 cubic feet since we were last here. And the reason that was reduced is because, if you recall, there was a roof deck, which
With a hot tub
with a hot tub.
that you removed.
Those are all gone.
Thank you.
That was a big bone of contention with the neighborhood, as you recall,
Oh, yeah,
and that is gone.
good.
So, again, we believe, when you consider the extent to which this lot is burdened, the limited size of this home, the envelope essentially that we have to work with, and we have made concessions. Now, I know that neighbors are here, and we've maintained an open dialogue with the neighbors throughout. It's a great community. I have good friends in that community. They were concerned, and they come out, and at the last hearings, many of them came out and spoke against this. There was a thought that nothing should go here. Katie reiterated this is single and separate. It's entitled to be a single subdeveloped building lot, and relief is certainly warranted. Well, I can't say that. Katie said that, but relief is justifiable in such circumstances. So I think the thought of the neighborhood understandably was perhaps this shouldn't be developed at all. Legally, we are entitled to develop this. There were thoughts, and I'll let them speak, I'm sure they're here to speak, about alternatives. We took a while, my client, I would check in at every meeting. They took a while to get to where they are. I can't speak to the considerations that were made in taking that almost, well, I think it was over a year to come to this determination, which was ultimately to remove that roof deck. But it was agreed to, and it was done. And again, our position is that this is, given the extent to which this lot is burdened, this is a reasonable request for relief.
Okay.
If there are any questions, I'd entertain them. I know some of our neighbors would like to speak to.
Yes, now, I want you to go through the corner clearance again, because that was quite a concern as well, because of the lack of being able to see, going around the curve.
Sure.
And while it isn't a main thoroughfare, there is still a lot of traffic and landscape equipment and other things, as I recall.
Sure.
That was a concern.
Well, yeah, so first of all, it's impossible on this lot because the corner clearance says 50 feet to
Right.
50 feet. You go 50 feet up and 50 feet
It's
over.
already, yeah.
And this is only 40 feet wide at the
Right.
road. So regardless, this was going to have to be something that this board was going to deal with.
Right. So you're saying that the proposed garage, there's a section of that intersects into the corner clearance, 25 square
25
feet?
square feet.
Okay,
If just like that, I guess it's the southwest corner
yeah.
is going to cut 25 square feet into the corner clearance.
Do you know how large the whole garage is? I mean, is it like the whole garage, or is it just a small portion of it, or?
No, the garage is,
It's like 20 by 10, basically.
yeah,
texture?
it's
I'm
about
sorry, what was
200
it?
square feet.
It's about 25%. No, what did you say, Katie?
25 square feet.
Plans say like 20-1 by 10,
So
Okay.
it's
No, so it'd be
200
less.
square feet, so it's about, not 25%, it's 12.5% of
Okay.
the garage.
Okay,
Which is, as you can see, tailored for just one car. Parking has to be a consideration either way, so a car's gonna be there regardless.
Mhm.
You need 3 spots because there are 4 bedrooms, including
One-
one in the basement.
okay. It's 4 bedrooms.
So a lot of the relief advertised for is no longer required. All the accessory relief is no longer required. The original relief that the building department requested we seek was mitigated for 2 reasons. One, because of the wetland setbacks under 330-84K, and one, because it's single and separate, so it's entitled to 3/10/14.
Okay, single and separate, okay. Board members, I know some of you weren't here for the original. Any kind of reactions to some of this?
I actually like the layout, so.
John, you were here.
Yeah, no, I appreciate the reductions that were made. And my biggest concern was the corner clearance, and I feel like you've addressed that issue sufficiently to my liking. And while it is quite a bit of pyramid relief, this lot is entirely constrained, and I agree with you. You can't say it's not a buildable lot. And so, given the constraints to the lot, a little more pyramid relief is required.
I don't have any specific questions, but I am interested in hearing any comments from the neighbors.
Exactly.
Can I also ask, what's the height of the ceilings and, it's just,
9-foot ceilings internally, and the total height of the building is 24 feet 4 inches.
so you kept it at 9 feet?
They did. So we had discussed that. Given it's a flat roof, there's a lot of duct work that actually, so the internal ceiling is going to be a bit lower than the 9 for duct work, for mechanicals and the like.
Right.
And you're wedded to a second floor 9-foot ceiling?
Well, that is important to the client, and we did talk about that.
The basement's 9 too?
Basement's 8.5. 8 feet 9 inches, so 3 inches more than that.
All right, because, when we deal with pyramid relief, we often ask for ceiling heights and considerations of keeping the ceiling heights to the minimal amount that you can possibly live with. So that might be an issue. I'm just warning you.
Is it in a flood zone spot?
Yes, it is.
Did you ever pursue anything with the CPF? That was a consideration at one point?
There were discussions, I didn't have them,
Okay,
but they were not fruitful.
okay. You did remove the roof deck. There was some concerns raised about having a basement bedroom, and you decided to stick with that.
Well, I'm not deciding.
No, you're representing the
Yeah.
client, so you know what I'm talking about. Okay, and you moved the garage, because I made a little note of the things that I thought were a concern.
That's like ancient paper now.
Yeah, look at this. The fact that I still have it is amazing. All right, there are no more board questions. Okay. All right.
Other than I'm appreciating your misery with this. This is a very challenging.
It's a challenging piece of property, there is no question. And, there was a lot of community concern. And I know that you've been dealing with them, and it's been a long time in coming to try to come to some resolution. At some point, we're gonna have to come to some resolution.
We are.
Yes, we are. So, is there anyone in the audience who wishes to be heard? Okay, let's come up, in order.
Yeah,
It's fine with
Sat
us.
together all meeting.
Did I swear you in before?
Yes, you did.
Okay, but it's been a while.
Yes.
Do you want to just state your name and address again?
My name is Shannon Bradley. My address is 15 Cove Road.
Okay. Okay, thank you,
So-
Shannon.
Thank you. I did want to read something, but I just want to comment on the residential zoning for the wetlands that you brought up, the 330-83K, which gives you the 50% reduction for a wetland parcel. The thing is that it's not just that. In its content, it states that, I'm putting glasses on, that the principal building setbacks can be reduced up to 50%, which is what is the relief granted for that because it's a constrained lot. So of the dimensional regulations given table 330-11 as provided for in 330-83K, the reduction for the front or rear yard shall not be less than 30 feet on any such reduced side yard or front yard. So the side yard actually can't be less than 10, which you don't have that problem in the relief that you requested, but we do have that problem for the front. This is also a corner lot, so you have two front yards. So I'm just not thinking that it's being represented clearly or depicted for the, for the constraints, even more constraints that it has. And the fact that relief is already provided for a waterfront lot, how does that work? I actually would defer to, I guess, you, because this is like the maximum amount of relief that can be granted.
Under that section.
Excuse me?
Under that section.
Under that section. So I'm just wondering, what happens when you have to go under the 30 feet?
You come here.
You come to variance.
That's why I said,
Okay, but he already, not you, but you already granted the 50%.
as of right, correct.
Okay.
So
then-
if he could have met that, he wouldn't have had to come here, but he's saying, I can't meet that,
Right.
and that's why he's asking for a variance, and that's why they have to pass that test. It's not just like, oh, they say so.
However, or ever, or anything like that. It's not like it was put there saying that it can never go under the 30.
That's why you come to
That's
for a
correct.
variance.
Okay, because it just seems like the 12 is so far from 30 that it's just, we all feel in the neighborhood that it's just such an enormous relief request. And we do feel that even though the rooftop hot tub was removed, that it really wasn't much move on your client's end to satisfy the neighbors, I guess, dismay about the project at hand. I just had written that the decision that you guys make on this application will undoubtedly set a precedent that is far-reaching and will be responsible for shaping the trajectory of our community's growth and development in all of the Southampton Township. So it's not just our little neighborhood, all of Southampton Town. If approved, I'm just afraid that it's going to cause a domino effect where developers and builders alike will learn of the massive amount of relief that was granted to this very small lot, and then they too will be purchasing all of our town's most special inventory to develop oversized structures on undersized lots. That is what is being applied, or that's what I feel is being applied here. And if granted, I just don't feel that we're protecting the rights of other lot owners, nor would we be preserving the unique character that defines Southampton Town. So that's basically all I can offer in my opinion, and then anything that I could read about the code. I would like the rooftop hot tub and deck is still on the approved Conservation Board wetland permit. So I think that it would be better to have that, like that needs to be corrected so there's no opening in the future to say, oh, well, Marty Shea said you could do this. I mean, I would appreciate that to be.
That's a good point.
Very good.
We're gonna have to go back to them on the positioning of the garage anyway.
Yeah,
So, and then you need a clarification that in fact the rooftop
Oh,
deck,
absolutely, yeah. We can only build what's approved here.
Yeah, but I think Shannon's point is well taken.
Oh, if you wanna make it a condition that we have to go back to get that, absolutely.
Yes.
We'll do that.
And I have one other last thing, and I'm really sorry, but I do know that
Don't apologize.
in the prescriptions on the wetland permit, and I know you're two different boards, but I do know that, or two different, one board, one department, there is actually an endangered species that you have to call Fish and Wildlife and find out, because there may have to be an incidental take, and there's a permit that's required to do that, and I only know that because of the piping plover. So it's as serious as that. I know that it is a very weighted decision that you're making, and it definitely will create precedent, I feel, in my opinion. But in his prescription, in the chief analyst's wetland, I think it's number 9, I just pointed out real quick. So within 1.5 miles of the documented summer occurrence of federal and state endangered northern long-eared bat. So according to the permittee needs to contact the New York State Department of Environment for Division of Fish and Wildlife to ensure that the proposed forest clearing activities are protected of that bat and will not result in an incidental take pursuant to New York State Environmental Conservation Law. And I just hope that maybe your client could take that into consideration because it's extremely important.
There's the pat window.
We deal with this in planning all the time. It's very simple. There's a period where you could do
I was just
clearing.
gonna say that.
And if you're outside of that window, you could go to the DEC for incidental taking. If you stay within the time periods.
And it's March to December, is
No.
my understanding.
It's
I thought.
December to March.
If it were that
It's
simple,
December to
then I would
March.
be
That's
able
what
to
I meant.
drive my recreational vehicle on the beaches, and the piping plover would be able to have an incidental take as well.
We're
So
not
it
talking
can't
about piping
be-
plover. We're
Yeah, you
talking
just read about the
I know
bat.
that, but
It's
I'm
the
just
long-eared
saying.
bat.
I'm, just, I'm only telling what the regulations.
Right, and
We apply all the time.
I get along with everybody, and I don't mean to be whatever the word would be, but I've attended other meetings for rights. I grew up out here, I've raised out here. My family is a big conservation contributor. I've donated lots of land. I'm a Tupper, I'm not a Bradley. Conscience Point, Tupper Boatyard. I'm big into conservation. So I just think that it's
Well,
not
I think your
simple.
point is well taken, and I'm sure that your client is
Right.
going to have to take that into consideration. But
Absolutely.
there are regulations, and if they abide by the regulations, that's kind of like all we can do. But you're just saying, make sure
Yeah, it
you
has never
abide
been
by the
brought up
regulations,
before.
and that's not something
Thank
that
you for
the
bringing that
zoning
up to
board's going to
us.
necessarily monitor. But it's a good point.
Okay.
It's a good
I
point.
mean, and one thing I would love to say to you, I understand, we take very seriously the creation of precedent
Right,
because you can't take it back.
no, you can't.
And you will change the character of the community indelibly for generations if you don't plan properly. The one thing about this lot is, it is such a strange lot.
It is.
It really is, and I think that adds to it makes it a little more precedent resistant, because we will absolutely differentiate cases, application to application. We've been doing that a lot. We do that a lot on this board now. And so we look very carefully when people come in and say, oh, you granted this variance and our application is exactly the same. We're like, okay, give us those variances and let's really look at it.
Right.
You know, to avoid setting precedent unintentionally.
Right. And you know, I know that it sounds like an enormous amount of pyramid relief, but relative to the other requests that we sometimes see, it isn't. But I do really appreciate the fact that they eliminated the hot tub and the roof and that they pushed the garage back. I mean, I think that they've tried to meet some of the concerns. And you know, they make an argument, should be a buildable lot and we should be able to build on it. You know.
Are they gonna, I mean, is it gonna be corrected? Is it gonna be like Ryan Kessner's plan that we just saw, where you have to come back and you have to apply for the correct relief and you have to supply the correct setbacks?
I personally would like specificity and exactly what you're asking for at this point, because it's such confusion from what the original was and what the existing is now.
I read it into the record, I can submit.
Yeah, but we need it in writing.
Yeah.
And, you know, with the whole thing about the conservation board and, you know, going back and correcting, because I thought that was a very good point.
Yeah.
You know, we'd like to see that as well. But I appreciate.
Or your commitment to doing that, not that it has to be done, but right away.
It'll be a condition of the variance.
It's a
It will be
condition.
condition of the variance, but we want to see in its written submission prior to issuing our decision, your commitment to doing that.
Absolutely.
Are there clearing restrictions put on this lot by the Conservation Board if part of their permit?
Well, if you look at the survey, you could see there's a 60-foot wide natural vegetated buffer, a 70-foot wetland.
You're not looking at the survey. That was my
I'm
problem.
going where you're
So,
talking.
yeah, substantial.
All right,
And then-
very good.
And then beyond.
Thank
that.
you, thank
Okay.
you. I'm sorry, I was just looking at the wrong piece of paper.
Yeah, no.
May I ask you something?
Sure.
Is it possible that we adjourn the case rather than close it and leave it
Well,
open?
let's hear from everybody before we make a decision, Helen. Shannon, thank you very much.
Thank you very much, I appreciate
Thank you so
time.
much.
Okay,
Sure,
yes,
Thank you.
a couple of good points. Next.
You're welcome. Sorry, I'm so nervous, I'm so sorry. I
You're
don't know
very
why I get like
You did
that.
very
I
well.
have it all in my head.
Yeah,
I don't know, you
and
did
it shows.
Yes. Yeah, no,
Your
no.
other side. Okay.
Okay, okay, but I did swear you in, didn't I?
Yes.
Okay, 100 years ago, okay.
100 years
Yeah, but you have to state your name and address again.
Marcus Punchy, 35 Waters Edge Road.
Thank you.
Southampton. I think I have one more.
You need to give a copy to Candace.
Well, he's gonna give me a copy and he's gonna.
I think I should have a copy.
Yeah, you need a copy, correct?
I don't need a copy, you can give it to Carl.
You need a copy? I can send you that.
No, that's gonna be my copy, he didn't have it.
I'll send it.
Okay, please state your name again.
Marcus Punchy, 35 Waters Edge Road, Southampton.
Okay.
Just spell your name for the record.
DOCHANTSCHI. Thank you for seeing us. Good to see you again, Carl. So, in a way, I'm happy to be here because Carl brings us together because everybody that's against the project is here tonight. So I see them actually more than during the 4th of July. But so we put this document together. We had a lot of time doing it because, in fact, the same submission that you see today was made how many months ago?
Almost a year.
Almost a year ago.
But not the same.
It's not the same
The only difference you'll see, and I put them, I did a little homework. You can see what was submitted a year ago and what was submitted now next to each other. And you'll find that the only difference is that the railing, the stair, and the roof deck has been removed. The volume of the building has not changed. The height of each floor has not changed. The garage had been removed or attached to the building during the last presentation. So in fact, nothing has changed. No communication was made with the community in terms of what should be changed. Carl was very good in reaching out to me whenever he got the drawings, which usually was the Friday before the week of the hearing. And, to be honest, we had another project at 40 Waters Edge, and I thought it was a great communication. The builder agreed to lower the heights of the floors, and the volume was reduced, and everybody was happy. I feel here it's very frustrating for the entire community. We're all coming back. We're all checking when the next hearing is. We're all here now. We do feel that the building proposed is way too big for the size of the site. We feel that building a house with 4 bedrooms on an already, as you said, heavily burdened site is way too much. To provide 3 parking spaces on a corner where it's already difficult to see, where you have a huge hazard not being able to look around the corner. And so we feel that actually there has been no progress made. There was no communication in terms of what would be appropriate. And you can see in the booklet that it's not the extent of one variance, it's the extent of all of the variances at the same time. So we're looking at 9 variances for this project and a relief of over 2,600 cubic feet. And the only change that was made is it was reduced by 69 cubic feet. Is that correct? Or 61.
By removing the roof deck, yeah.
By removing the roof deck. I'm sorry. I just find that really we're all coming here kind of hoping to see that there is some kind of communication and that the house would change in scale, and it didn't happen. So you will hear a lot of frustrated neighbors and other people in the community that quite frankly think there's absolutely no change and no progress.
So what would you like to see? Would you like to see ceiling reduction, ceiling height reduction?
Yeah, I think what would be appropriate for a lot size of this scale with the burden that it has to have 8-foot ceilings like typical houses used to have. 8 foot in the basement, 8 foot on the ground, 8 foot on the second floor. I think it would make sense not to have 4-bedroom house that requires 3 parking spots. And I think it would make sense to not have a garage that's attached to the building. In this neighborhood, and you can see the study we did, there is not a lot of buildings that have that. And in fact, the project that Carl got approved last time at 40 Waters Edge has a little pergola, not an enclosed garage. And that actually allows you to see through. So I think there's a lot of things that can be done to make the neighborhood happy and make everybody that's concerned about it see that there's an effort to do a building that makes sense. And I want to add one last point, which was brought up earlier. There is a concern about the roof deck being removed and then not being removed. You probably remember the case at 8, what's the address?
Middle Pond Lane. I
Middle
see
Pond
your
Lane.
picture.
This is the same typology of a building. It was built, the pergola was built illegally. The neighbor then photographed it with pictures, didn't want to get the variance. We don't want to have a project that sits there.
He
and then-
stipulated to.
And he did remove it.
But my point being is, we want to make sure that this doesn't happen, and we don't have to go, we don't have to fight it.
Well, it'll be condition of the variance.
Right.
They won't get a building permit for
And
it,
they'll be,
so.
yeah.
And-
They're not gonna get a building permit for it.
Yeah.
I mean,
And I think-
look, people do things with their property that we don't have control over, and I grant you that. But there is a way to enforce that.
Right.
And that's what, you would have to look to code enforcement or whatever.
Absolutely.
But
It's
so what you're basically saying is that you would like to see 8-foot ceilings, and what would that result in terms of a reduction in the
2 feet.
I did his,
in the cubic feet?
I did his homework. It's going to be still over 1,000 square foot. It's in the
Cubic
presentation.
How
Cubic
many-
feet.
How many cubic feet? 2? No.
No,
How much-
2 feet. I can't tell you what the cubic feet reduction.
Yes, no.
Right.
This says.
Because there's only 2, is there a basement?
There is a basement.
Is that, and you said that's already 8 feet?
Oh,
No,
8,
it's
9.
8, 9.
Oh, that's
So-
9.
8, 9, and it's lifted
So
up.
2 feet 9 inches would be the difference.
Okay.
All right, but what would that difference be?
It says on page 23, if this is accurate, that it would be over 1,000,
Well, it's already
reduction.
2619,
a reduction of
And-
over 1,000.
a reduction of 1,000 cubic feet to remove.
Is that what this says? Am I
Yeah,
reading this
I'm-
correctly?
I'm not the architect, so we're just doing it as
All
a
right, but
community.
that's a question.
Yes.
That's a
Right.
question. What would that
I
result in?
don't think that sounds
The
realistic.
other thing is to eliminate the basement bedroom so that the
It's gonna be a
parking
few
would be
hundred.
reduced.
I said the wrong thing. I stand corrected.
All right, all
Page.
right.
I
But
mean, I think
that's-
it'll,
For parking relief, though.
No, I understand, but they're saying, because of the visual, looking, I don't know, you're not asking for parking relief.
Do we have a picture of the corner?
That would be helpful.
An aerial or?
A picture of what one sees at the corner
Well,
as it
I've been there,
exists.
it's very crowded. I mean, it's really,
It's very crowded. We did a
It's
render.
hard.
Right now, is it vegetated, or
Yes.
has it been?
it is.
Okay, so it's super vegetated, so it's
need
not
to
gonna be a
make a-
realistic depiction of what it will look like.
Yeah, right,
No,
right.
You don't have corner clearance now.
You don't have corner clearance, right? Nothing going on there yet. All
Right,
right,
so you'll have better corner clearance.
So what you were saying that you're representing supposedly the entire community,
I'm
8-foot
part of the board of the
ceilings,
Southampton Golf.
okay, eliminate the basement bedroom and eliminate the garage.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I'm more interested in the ceiling heights, to be honest. I mean, that to me is something that I really would like some consideration given.
I agree with that.
And I'm not, I'm not all that interested in the basement bedroom issue. And I think that you've put the garage, you've attached it to the house. So I have less problems with that, but I would definitely be interested in some ceiling reduction.
Well, we have increased the corner clearance by 5 feet or so, correct?
By moving the garage.
By moving the garage to the,
There's
it
only
was
a small-
20.1 and now it's 25.6.
Right,
So
right.
there has been movement on that. You can't
Yes.
say that no changes were made.
But that was
That's-
already made last time.
But we don't,
That's
we
not
still
the-
get
But
credit for
but
it.
we're hearing that, we're
Yeah,
trying
you
to
do still get credit
hear
for
what, what the actual variance
Right.
relief request is. And that's one of the reasons why we want it to be, laid out for us specifically.
Okay, so
We have some others.
Yes,
Yes,
no, I
absolutely.
understand. I just wanted to see a reaction from the board as to what's going on here so
Taking
far.
it all in.
All right, you're taking it in. They haven't heard this before. Okay, let's hear from anybody else.
Thank you so
Thank
much,
you,
sir.
Marcus. Very professional presentation.
Well, I had a lot of time to
I'll
do
just
it.
say, we gave everything to him. I would love to have got this.
Do you want
I
my
got it on
copy?
Friday, and then we had to change it to what you
Well,
gave
what,
me.
no
When I give it
excuse.
to you when we get it.
Well, wait a second. He needs a copy, Marcus, so
Carl,
Make
do
sure.
you want a hard copy or you want an email?
Email would be great.
I'll forward it to you. I got it by email. Just
Thank you so
41
much.
pages that I just want to make copies.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I think,
Marianne O'Connor, I was here previously.
okay, Mary Ann. Okay, sorry.
And I really just, my whole concern has to do with the parking situation and the clearance. As you said, it's extremely tight. I just, even with the garage, without the garage, I think you're gonna have trouble fitting 3 cars without them sticking out onto the roadway. And so with the garage, I
Did
don't
you
know where
place them
you're
on the survey?
putting 3 cars.
In
And
parking
it is
locations,
a
yeah.
very tight area, so that, it's a safety thing that I'm concerned with here.
I just want to take a look at this
I
survey.
mean, we all know this is a very difficult lot. They knew, and I'm not saying it's not buildable, but they knew when they bought it, this was an extremely difficult lot. So for them to be looking to build something of this size, I get why they wanna do it, but I just.
You're not unreasonable, right?
I just, and I'm not saying there shouldn't be anything there, but I have some safety concerns about about the parking. And we say, okay, they gave, we've got 5 feet because they moved the garage over. But isn't it supposed to be a 50-foot clearance? So now that it's a 25-foot clearance instead of a, 20-foot clearance, does that really fix the problem? I don't know.
It's not a 25-foot clearance. It's 50 and 40 because that's all we have. And then 50, and there's a 25.
No, but I mean,
You
isn't
do-
it
you do
supposed to be a 50?
No, you do 50 feet, 40 feet, you draw a line, and
Okay.
that's
And that's the corner
and
clearance.
that's the corner
And the-
clearance.
And so,
And so now what they do, when they did that, it comes up to a little corner of the proposed garage is now in the corner clearance that shouldn't be. But that's the only part.
but where?
But
do
then
the
your
3
issue
cars
is
fit?
that the cars are going to be in the corner clearance area,
Correct.
but not all the time. And I understand your.
It's
I was very
And
concerned
there's
about the corner
no
clearance myself.
on-street parking.
No, there is no on-street parking there.
And
It's
there's
very
no
tight.
like alternate lot that people can go park in and then walk up to the house. It doesn't exist. So it's a safety concern.
How many car garage? One.
So
Do they need it desperately?
I was gonna
Is it
say,
something-
if you
it would
eliminate
seem
that,
like
the
we could just
parking goes
eliminate
where
it.
the garage is,
Yeah.
gets pushed toward it.
Yes.
If you eliminate the garage,
Mhm.
The parking would get pushed closer toward
get
the
put
house.
closer to the house, but,
Yeah.
but
You'd have to have 4 spaces
yeah,
instead
you'd
of,
still need.
well, no, you'd have to
No.
have 3 spaces.
Three
Yeah, it's 4 bedrooms,
So
so we
you'd
need
still,
3
I mean,
spaces.
you put a car where the garage is, and it's all be the same otherwise.
I just have safety concerns about that.
It seems
and-
to
and
me like that
vehicle,
would
you know,
be the
emergency vehicles and
reasonable-
everything else being able to get in.
That could be the reasonable
Alternative.
alternative. Thank you.
yeah,
I
so-
couldn't speak for a second. I just froze up.
I mean, you know, let me say this, that I think in terms of your safety concern, if you parked 3 cars there as opposed to having a solid structure, it might be easier to see past the cars than it would be a solid structure. Is there a particular reason why the client wants a garage? I mean, is it for,
Well, why anyone wants a garage.
I mean, not everybody has garages out here. I mean,
No,
that's
I know,
clearly.
but why would anyone want a garage? I can't say it's for
I
any
know,
reason
but is
other
it-
than to
but is
protect the vehicle, to obscure the vehicle aesthetically.
You can get more money for the property if you have a garage. It's a spec house, it's a developer.
Right, well, we don't
And there's
need
nothing
to-
wrong with developers, that's what,
We don't need to
my
get
house
into.
wouldn't have been
Okay.
built if there was no developer.
What are you saying?
So,
Are you? Are you being bad?
That's it, it really, I'm concerned about the safety and the parking, and that's my only really.
okay,
Thank you.
Thank you.
okay. All right, anybody else? Hi. Did I? I know, there was a whole bunch. I can't remember everybody from a year ago. What did you say your name was?
You might have to come.
Man, come here, I don't think that mic works.
We hear
This
you
is the
better
only
over here.
mic that works.
Now I'm gonna be loud. Deborah Robusto, 14 Cove Road South, Southampton Cove.
Okay.
I'm the president of the Cove Association, and I'm just gonna say what, Marcus, Shannon, and Marianne, I'm in agreement with everything that they're saying, especially the safety issues. You've been there, it's not a normal road, it's a very tiny road. Ambulances, fire trucks, I'm in agreement with the garage being smaller, and there's a concern that the house is so small with 4 bedrooms, it is a spec house. Obviously anybody can build a house and do whatever they want with it after the fact, but we're concerned that it becomes a rental with 4 bedrooms, and who's gonna say that they're not gonna put a stair back up to the rooftop?
That's something we can't deal with.
I know, I
I
understand
mean, I
that.
appreciate that, and it's a concern of everybody in the community, but, I mean, we have what we do.
So
what
then
we
you
do.
call for code
Yeah,
enforcement.
that's
Yeah.
an enforcement issue.
So, I just wanted to agree with everyone else that spoke, and I just wanna be on record that there's other
Deborah.
people
So
here from the
would
community.
removing the garage be an acceptable?
Oh, I think that would be very acceptable. All right. And the height of the ceilings, of course, I'm in agreement with. Okay, thank you very much.
Okay, anybody else? Come on up. Did I? Maureen, I swear, I'm sorry, I'm having a year.
That's all right.
It's late in the evening. All right, Maureen, tell us what your comments are.
All right, my concerns likewise are the road and the traffic on the road. I don't have very many pictures. I can show you that the ambulance up at the top of the road, and I can show you how narrow it is.
It's
in
narrow.
that
I've been there.
direction.
I've been there.
I know you have been there. I was looking today for someone to show up, as a matter of fact. On a normal day, any truck that comes up, whether it's propane or fuel, a lot of the UPS trucks, FedEx, they have to back out. There's no place, when you come up the road, it's a dead end. When you go down, that's it. There's no place to turn around, so there's no room to have a car out on the street. And my concern is with the garage and the visibility going around the corner, somebody's gonna get hit. Just as a pedestrian walker, there have been times where I was almost clipped,
It's a tricky
And
corner.
I've even looked into getting speed bumps to put on the road because people do speed up, even though it is a dead end.
It's not heavily trafficked because there's a couple of houses. It's not like as I said, a main thoroughfare. But But it is a concern because it's a very narrow road and it really, yeah, it's tough. It's tough, no question.
And, you know, when it comes to delivering like the lumber and all the other things, where are those things going to be put? You can't put them in the wetlands. How, with the size of
That's
the
not
house,
something
is that gonna be?
They're gonna have to find a
Figure
place.
it
They're
out.
gonna have to figure it out
They're gonna have to
because
figure it
that's,
out.
that is definitely a concern and for all construction in this town. You always have to worry about them being on the road and everything else, so they'll figure that out. They will
Without
figure that.
being on the phone every day calling code enforcement or the
Well,
police?
good luck.
All right.
Anybody else? Is there anybody on Zoom who wishes to be heard on the application of 11 Robbins Lane?
One person.
Okay, one person.
Is that me?
That's you.
Hi.
Did I
Carter
swear you
Security.
in, Carter? Have I sworn you in before?
You have last time.
All right, thank you. We don't see you, though. Can we see you?
Sure.
Can we get video? Oh, there you go.
Hello.
Okay.
Hi. Carter Simpson, 28 Robbins Lane. I just wanted to echo a couple of things that some of the neighbors have said. Echo what Marcus said, there hasn't been, any communication with the developer here over the last year, at least not with me. But I do appreciate the changes that they've made with regards to the roof deck. Do you think that's a big step in the right direction? I did want to just touch upon the garage and the road, that point. As I read the plans here, the inclusion of the garage requires 2 of the 8 variances here. Removing the garage would remove the corner clearance relief and would solve the rear yard setback. As the person at the end of the road, I am the one who, if a fire truck or an ambulance were coming down there, they'd be coming to me. And I'm the one getting in and out of this street. So I do feel acutely the point that if we could improve that corner clearance and also provide more parking space in the driveway, which notwithstanding Carl's point about a garage is significantly larger than a parking space, and it takes up a lot more space in the driveway. So allow people to actually park in the driveway would be great, and I think would help avoid the issue of folks parking on the street for a 4-bedroom house. The other kind of request I would make, not sure that this is the right body for this, but Robbins Lane is a bit of an orphan road. I've spoken to the state, the county, the town, the trustees, and the Cove Association, and no one maintains it. It is an unmaintained road. So although it appears on this map as a 20-foot wide private road, it is significantly less than that, as the vegetation on the lot that's being proposed here has encroached into it, and as it's worn away over time. So maybe in consideration of the impacts on the road and certainly the volume of traffic and construction vehicles that would be going on it, the developers here would maybe improve the road so that it would be much more passable for everybody. Clear the vegetation from it and kind of restore it to its 20-foot purported width. I'll stop there.
I want to ask a question to that.
Road review?
Is it subject to road review?
Yeah, I was just gonna ask that, Katie.
Because
Is it a
would be
private road?
highly
It's a private road,
unusual for the zoning board to connect road improvements to a lot for which a building permit, I get they're asking for variances, but a building permit can be issued for this property, conforms to zoning and everything.
Yeah.
And if it's subject to road review, then the road review, I know I attend those meetings as well, will tell, based on the improvements that are being made, what level of work has to be done within the road.
And
The
they're
question
usually
is
the
this
ones who
subject
come
to
in.
that? And I don't know the answer.
Yeah.
I'm assuming it is if it's a private road,
Yeah,
but
if it's a private road, it goes to road review.
Yeah, so they'll be able to
Covered.
address, they're gonna address improving the conditions of the road to accommodate the development of this particular piece of property. That's what road
Well, then
review does.
I'll constrain my comments for the purpose here to the garage. I think when you look at the other houses on this street, I don't have a garage, I don't think anybody else has a garage. You can certainly have a house without a garage, it doesn't impact the buildability of it, and isn't required here for what they're trying to do, and has some negative fallout effects for the rest of the neighborhood.
Thank you, Carter.
Thank you.
All right, so here we are.
We have
Who's
Anybody
Gary's
else?
iPad?
Oh, there's one more, Gary's iPad?
It's just Gary's iPad.
iPads get a voice?
They do?
Is it AI or?
It's an AI iPad.
Interesting last name, iPad.
Yeah. Gary, are you there?
Gary, we
Can't
don't
see
see
you.
you.
Ah,
Oh, there you are.
Can
you see me now?
Yes,
Yes.
Gary, have I sworn you in before?
You have.
Okay.
It's Gary Mattingly, 42 Waters Edge Road.
Okay, Gary, what are your comments?
So I'd just like to add a few things to it. I mean, I understand that it's a buildable lot, although it is constrained by way. And if it could just be something that fit within the neighborhood, having something 12 or 10 feet off the road, it looks like Queens. There's nothing in this entire community that's less than 50. Most of them are 60 feet off the road. So this thing would be, be a monstrosity just standing straight up in the air.
Wow.
The second thing that hasn't been mentioned, a dock was put in for this property without any of us knowing. We didn't find out till the very end. And along with that dock, there was a proposal, or it was passed for a 110-foot walkway, 10 feet off the road, all the way up. Is that still being planned on being installed? Nothing's been mentioned about that.
It's on the plan.
It's on the plans, but it's not subject to variance, so
Yeah,
it's not before us.
something
We
that
have no jurisdiction over it.
So there's going to be a 10-foot walkway, 10 feet off this road, all the way down through wetlands and buffer zones.
I don't think we should entertain.
We really can't entertain this conversation.
This is not
It's
something
not in
that
our
we're
jurisdiction.
addressing, Gary, because it's not part of the variance request. This is another organization you'd have to go to.
Right, I just, one of Mr. Farrell's workers was sly enough to say, yeah, he's very smart, he put that in first before he applied for you guys, so I thought
That's-
that was pretty.
all right, that's
We
not
don't have
something-
jurisdiction over
Yeah,
that.
we don't have
I
to.
got it.
Yeah.
I'll just say, our community owns a property right next to Carter, adjacent to this property. And this property and that property were never developed because of, the environmental impacts to them. And the reason this property was never sold and nothing done with it is because if you look at it, you have all the wetlands and buffer zones, there's really not much left to build anything on. And if he stays within the constraints of what's allowed, that's great. But if he just circumvents every rule that you guys have as far as setbacks and zoning, it's a joke then.
Well, not every rule, but
There's quite a few of them.
Well,
but
it's
also-
not a joke. The function of this board is
Yeah.
to consider the hardship, so.
Yeah, nobody's circumventing either. That's what this process is, to be clear.
Yeah.
We're
I don't consider
entertaining.
hardships when it's someone building for profit, not someone building for their.
this is not our
personal
deal.
life.
This is
Okay.
not something we address. Okay, so, thank you, Gary, for your comments. All right, so I'm thinking that there's a couple of things that maybe you need to still consider.
With your client.
Hold it open once more.
Yes, but let me just say that, I'm coming, you've got to have 4 votes on this board in order to get approval of the variances. And I am very much looking at 8-foot ceilings.
And I want to see you remove the garage.
And the garage, because that seems to be, and honestly, I've been up there. I mean, it's very tight up there.
And I
So,
agree with my colleagues.
yeah, so that's 3 people who are sitting here saying that.
You two.
Not good
Multiply.
enough.
I'm leaning their way.
Is it-
and-
Is it mitosis or what? We need you to split.
All I'll say is this, uncharacteristically of me,
on him.
I really wanted to hear the whole sort of picture, and I do appreciate, the constraints, and I do
Yes.
appreciate the community's
Absolutely.
concerns.
And I appreciate what
Absolutely.
you've done as well.
But in the end, this always is the test, which is it's a really small constrained lot, which means the structure and the house and the type of house you build needs to be commensurate with the physical limitations of the property, which mitigates in favor of stuff you guys just said, and small is better, right? And that's all everybody keeps saying, and these folks.
Well, Pedro, you didn't say anything at 3?
Who's talking?
All right, no, I don't know who's talking, ignore.
But
Go on,
so the principal concern here is people that live in the community get stuck with decisions we make.
Yep.
Right? And that's what we keep hearing. So,
And,
you know.
but our
what's
decisions
your
also
point?
have to take into account
Totally.
builders, you
And there's-
know,
and
it's
listen,
personal property.
There's no getting stuck. I mean, there's
Well,
a test that has to be
Sure.
implemented based on the facts and the
Yeah.
circumstances.
Yes,
So it's,
and we
I don't want
balance-
people thinking when variances are granted that neighbors are
No,
stuck
we,
with
we,
things.
we don't
We
grant
balance, we
randomly
balance,
chaotic
we
decisions.
have to
I agree.
balance, you know.
All I'm saying
property
is, you know,
rights
what
versus
what
whatever.
we're hearing from the
Community
community is
interests.
their concern about their
Talked about it a
community,
lot
which
on
is
the
entirely
campaign
valid.
Yeah, it's valid.
So,
Okay, so,
I hear you.
all right, so,
We'll come back
All
and
right.
see where we are.
417, 51, 515.
417.
Okay.
second?
all right, wait, who's got this? Is this,
Is this,
Me.
is this still on the board?
It's-
They are.
it's me. All right,
You said
I
417?
think we're going to hold this open and adjourn the.
Oh, no.
hear-
We said 417 no? It's still open? Oh, no, 4-3 is not open.
I'm
Okay.
going to, all right, can I make the motion, please? All right, I would like to move that we keep this open and adjourn this hearing until 4:17.
Second.
Mr. Leonard.
Aye.
Ms. Kane. Aye. Mr. Redmond.
Aye.
Mr. McDonald.
Aye.
Ms. Burgess.
Two more. I'll do that. Thank you.
Your vote's aye, okay. All right, thank you, community members.
Thank you very much. Yeah, but thank you for the wonderful information you brought to us. That was great.
All right, hold on.
You again,
And then one after this.
and then again.
Very, very quick though.
Okay, look.
Do this fast.
I-
Come on. Okay. Oh, I got to read it.
to.
Number 13 on the agenda, application of Mark Curdy and Keith Seigerman, 3 Maple Avenue, Hampton Bays, Suffolk County Tax Map Number 900-228-2-22. I feel like I'm calling train numbers at the station.
Carl Benacasa.
So loud.
860 Montauk Highway, Watermill, New York, for the applicant. I have been retained as new counsel on this.
Okay.
I've had numerous discussions about this application with Katie.
Mhm.
I've watched all the hearings.
Mhm.
Katie suggested I come today to explain what our intents are going forward, and just sort of give you a heads up of what we plan to, how we plan to process this. We are going to withdraw the single and separate application.
Okay.
The goal or the intent would be to seek a minor subdivision, which would require a lot area variance. We are not presenting that at this time. We believe that relief is far too great a pivot from what was noticed to be considered as other relief deemed necessary. So we will go through the process with the planning board and then at the appropriate time, apply for a lot area variance and consider the merits of that at that time.
Okay.
So
Okay.
for the record, we are withdrawing this application.
And just if I may, because I know there are neighbors here, so they're withdrawing this application, so this application is not being reviewed by the zoning board anymore. In the event the applicant does proceed with a subdivision with the planning board, there'll be a public hearing at the first stage of the process.
First stage and second stage,
Oh, that's right, we have,
and then,
I don't want to get too far ahead of
and then a
myself.
public hearing for the zoning
They would,
board.
and they would have to come to zone, there'd be one with planning and one with zoning, so there will be another hearing in the event they move forward with that application. And then you would have the information about that, letting you know.
Okay, so that you understand, we're not going to discuss it tonight because the original application is now done. But he is going to apply for a subdivision, and he's going to go to planning board, and they're going to have hearings, and then if in fact planning board approves the subdivision, minor subdivision, comes back to us for a variance in terms of lot coverage or lot acreage.
And it's sort of like an air quote subdivision because there are two separate tax map numbers. I mean, you know, we know that there was
There
that
was
period
a
of time.
subdivision map pre-zoning, so
Yeah.
this will all be part of the application.
So we have some time, and you know, just stay involved.
You'll be noticed the same way you were noticed for this.
I'm not holding you to this. I'm just trying to understand the area variance amount would be roughly what's.
What is this?
Well, it's R20, so it
No,
would,
no, but if you're asking for an area variance, what's the size of the potentially new created lot.
Well, it'd be
What it
less.
is.
It's
It's
gonna
what
be
exists right now.
It's 18,000.
Yeah,
But I don't know what that number is.
20 is the required.
and it's
20 is required, it's
18,000
18 and change.
Okay.
Yeah, so it's like 1,000 something square feet.
Yeah, I'm trying to get, is it, how close are we to what it should be, that's all.
Yeah,
Not at all.
Relatively,
No, because this lot right now is 9,190 square feet.
the 18 was the two of them.
Oh, the two.
That's right,
Okay.
18
So
to
that's
2.
a significant
Yeah,
variance.
but it's what exists right
Yeah,
now.
yeah.
Yeah.
So we'll see you back here on that application
Thank you.
Thank you.
at some point, if you go forward with that.
That
All
was a
right,
very
and then-
reasonable
Okay, so are you
Approach,
next
thank you.
as well?
Katie guided me there.
Go, Katie.
It just was like there's too much testimony, but I mean, the hearing's still open, so if you want, if anybody wants to speak.
But we're not hearing, it's been withdrawn. The application's been withdrawn. The single and
Sort of, but we
separate.
just took a ton of testimony, so if people want to speak, I mean, it's not like he was like.
Do any of
"I'm
you wanna
taking
say
all my things
anything?
and
You
leaving."
didn't take.
Would you like to say something, ma'am? Come up, sit down. Come join us.
They're not all night.
I mean, if it was withdrawn, it would have, there wouldn't even be on the agenda.
Yeah,
Wouldn't have been
Like
on.
it's
we
on
have
the
one right
agenda.
here,
Take
Parish
a
Art
seat.
Museum was withdrawn.
I see. So in other
Talk to
words,
us.
because we didn't withdraw it before the meeting,
Okay.
or announce it before the meeting.
So we have,
Because they're here.
Okay, I definitely saw you, and yes.
I'm confused how it was sold as a separate lot on Maple Lane when the cesspool to the house is on that lot. So right now, we have a house that exists without a cesspool. How is that allowed? I'm not
well,
let
it
me-
sounds like what you're saying is that the cesspool on one lot is servicing the house on the other.
Yes.
Okay, so what would wind up happening is that if it is
new system.
ultimately subdivided, there would have to be separate septic systems.
Yeah,
But
absolutely.
Installed.
how did they sell it? They sold it it's already been sold as a separate lot.
To the
How
same
would they-
people.
Not right now.
They're
No?
different.
Not right
Not
now.
Are they
now.
different people
Mhm.
right now? Oh, okay.
Well, I can't answer
It
that.
was single and separate for a period. I mean, it was
Right.
common ownership for a period,
Yeah,
but it's been single and separate under the current ownership.
And listen, when they make an application to subdivide it, that might come up, right? The planning board may say, we gotta reconfigure
Correct.
the
We
lines.
definitely would have to relocate septic.
Yeah.
I can't answer how it got sold,
Yeah.
Yeah,
know,
because
it's-
right now you have
Yeah.
a house that legally does not have a cesspool to
So,
it.
yeah, really, so that's like, that's an
Who owns
enforcement
each of
issue.
these properties? One
So-
is,
Aaron,
Matthew Curdy
okay,
owns the house.
and then
Segerman and Mark Curdy own the land.
own the land. Exactly.
Okay.
There you go.
It's two separate owners.
yes.
But one is the same.
No,
Well, and
no,
that's-
Matthew,
Mark
Curdy,
and Matthew.
and Mark Curdy.
Okay.
And so that would have definitely been a problem for single and separate, because clearly, one of the pieces of property is servicing the other piece of
Right,
property.
exactly.
So that would have, and that's one of the reasons why they can't proceed with that, because that wouldn't
But
work.
but to
you're
answer
gonna-
your
I don't wanna say
question,
can't
you're all
proceed, we are
related.
withdrawing. We don't want to
Okay,
prejudice ourselves.
You're all,
Okay.
ma'am, to answer your question, they're related. The owners of the two properties are related, so it's not like if I were to go and buy a property and I'm being told I'm buying this piece of property and there's a cesspool on, there's no house, but there's a cesspool servicing the house next door, it would chill bids, because who wants to buy a house with a cesspool? But they're related people. They're related.
Okay, this has
So
gone too
that's
far
why they
off.
bought them
off-
together.
off
I'm just
topic.
explaining
I
to her.
wanted, I know, I know you.
We have no
I'm just trying
idea
to be
how it
nice.
happened.
I
That's
wanted
not
to
our
be fair, but
purview.
now it's like off the rails.
So, yeah, I mean, thank you, John, for trying to explain that, but really,
Okay.
we don't know. But,
It's very simple.
okay, but stay involved, very simple.
It is
I
simple.
don't know if it's so simple. Okay.
All right.
All right, so that's done. All right,
Occam's razor, the simplest explanation
come
is
up if
probably
you
the
wanna
right
come up.
one.
yes. And I think I've sworn you in as well.
Yes, yes,
Okay.
thank you very much, I appreciate it.
Okay.
Just have to take his name from me.
Yes, state your name, please, and your address.
Yeah, Robert Tyson, 62 Bay Avenue, Hampton Bays.
Okay, Robert.
TYSON.
Thank you.
Okay. I guess after 3 hours, this is quite a surprise, okay? In trying to take it all in, I'm wondering, because that is being withdrawn at this point, are they acknowledging that it's a single piece of property?
No.
So theoretically, is this going to be adjourned, or they're just withdrawing?
We withdrew it.
They withdrew it, and they can't get a building permit to build on that lot because there has been no single and separate determination. So in lieu of continuing this conversation, they're gonna make an application to subdivide it and create two, and I'm gonna use
Appreciate
air
that, but
quotes.
because it's been withdrawn, theoretically, they could come back with this same application at another time.
It's being withdrawn without prejudice, so yes, they could.
Yeah.
But that doesn't sound like that's.
Looking-
Is with or without prejudice up to you?
Well, it's up to them. I mean,
They're
it's like,
withdrawing it.
We're withdrawing.
Okay, fair enough.
yeah.
Uh,
We haven't
So-
put anything down on them. I mean, they're just taking the whole application away.
Right, and it's not.
They're looking to achieve the same objective a
Oh, no, I
different way.
understand that.
I
Okay.
know what he's saying. I know what he's saying.
I understand that, but I'm wondering, in other words, that after all of this time, and it was about to be hopefully resolved in a decision in a couple of weeks, theoretically, because they've withdrawn this, they could come back at a future date and present the same argument again, hoping for the same outcome, correct?
Sure, they absolutely
Okay, all
could.
right, all right, I just wanted to see that.
But they're proposing
No,
to
I
pursue this a different way, right away. They're not likely to come here if they can get it the other way.
Totally got it, and
Okay.
I guess this might be a question to the planning board and not this board, but, is the planning board the body that would grant, in other words, which comes first, the apple or the orange? Do they have to ask for a variance because in splitting this lot into two separate
So
pieces?
it's a three-step
Let me
process.
just-
Okay.
Yeah.
He's the expert.
That is.
So, we start off in planning with a pre-application, okay, so they could submit that application, they don't have to comply with the zoning. We then have a public hearing, I do referrals to all the agencies, I prepare a report, a pre-application report. One of the things that's gonna say in that report is, in order to proceed with the planning board to get to the final stage, you're gonna need A, health department approval, and B, relief if granted by the zoning board in order to get to that final stage of the planning
Okay,
board.
I got it.
Then they, if they're successful, then they would proceed with the planning board, upon receipt of variances and health department.
And the
There's
zoning,
gonna be all sorts of-
and the zoning board referral would be for variances needed based on the plans proposed at the planning stage. Okay, so if they needed setback relief or something like that, they would come to us at a later
It
date.
would just be the.
Excuse me, I'd rather
I'm-
have them
excuse me,
speak
I'm
if you don't
talking.
mind.
It would
No,
just
you're
be,
interrupting.
it would just be for lot area variance.
But we haven't, whatever it's gonna be for, we haven't, variances
Go
to
ahead.
create two lots.
Right.
My question is, in other words, if something is planned and accepted by the board, and then they need a variance in order to do it,
They would come back here.
that seems like it's been going the wrong way. Wouldn't they need to know if you're even going to grant a
No, to be
variance for
quite
something
honest,
like that?
that's the risk that the applicant takes. They spend the money with my office, we go through a whole big process, takes months, we do referrals, we give them a report, we say, you don't meet zoning, so the planning board can't approve this at the final stage unless you get relief. It's not going, it's not, to be quite honest, it's not going backwards, the zoning board and everyone involved, it's better to have the planning board review this first,
Okay,
in your scenario.
fair enough. I
and we're
thought
gonna-
that that's a fool's errand if it's never
No.
gonna pass muster.
And,
at
and
the
you're,
zoning
and you're
board
gonna,
of
and you're
appeals.
gonna have an opportunity to speak at that very first phase before the zoning board even.
What, at the planning board?
Yeah.
Thank you very much, appreciate your
To
time.
determine whether there's a subdivision, and then they would come back to us for lot area
Thank you,
area
Mr. Tyson.
variances.
Anybody else in the audience who wishes to be heard? Okay, wait, we're not done. Another person's coming up.
My name is John Berglund. I'm the neighbor at 7 Gravel Hill Road.
And I did swear you in.
Did swear me in,
Yes.
Yes. Well, yeah, I'm confused, but it says here that the applicant requests a determination. So why, so it's, the application is being withdrawn, but shouldn't you be determining anyway?
No. What they're doing is they're basically saying, oops, sorry, we didn't really, we're gonna take it all back. You don't even have to consider anything. So it's like, it's like they never submitted an application. They're withdrawing it.
It doesn't exist anymore,
Well,
which is good for you
Which we
because.
should get written withdrawal as well.
property
We'll
was
submit a written withdrawal.
Yes.
We would have
used
done it
by
that
the
way, but
family for over 60
it was
years.
suggested that this would be the better way to do it.
Yeah,
You know, as it was, yeah.
right, which is why, based on the information that's been provided in the previous hearings, they've decided that they would rather not go that route to prove to meet the test they need to meet to have it declared to be single and separate. So they're withdrawing the application, we're not even gonna consider it, and then they go to the planning board.
I will say, I feel compelled to say, and if I'm out of line, I'm sure you'll correct me, but we do have a bunch of neighbors who've been sitting here for 3 hours, and they could have averted that inconvenience had the withdrawal occurred in advance of the meeting. So I do think as a courtesy to neighbors, it would be a better practice.
To not have them come in?
To have
To
withdrawn
make sure
it.
that the withdrawal is happening
See,
so that people don't sit for 3 hours.
I totally disagree. Because I'm going to tell you why. And this is why I told the applicant. Because the neighbors they came in the past and then they came again. So if they heard that it was just off the agenda, they would have all these questions tomorrow, like what's happening. And now you know. Now you know they can't build it on this lot until they go through a subdivision. You're going to be notified of a subdivision. You're going to be notified of the public hearings.
Can I say one thing? I would have preferred that I had known this earlier and we would have put it at the top of the agenda.
You could have taken it out of order.
I would have taken it out of order, and so that nobody had to sit around for 3 hours to find out it's withdrawn. And the explanation for all of it is very simple. So it's not like, we could have handled it very
Yeah,
quickly.
we can do better.
Yeah, I think we should do that in the future.
May I ask one more question, if I may?
Certainly, Mr. Tyson.
Thank you. Knowing the piece of property intimately, it just occurred to me that if one was to divide the existing property into 2 buildable lots, that would make the house on the existing piece of property also need variances, okay? Now, when the original CO of that property was given, back in, I think, 1961, it was assumed, I will say, that the entire piece of property was one piece, because the bedroom on the back of the main house, which had been an add-on, did not get a variance because it extends within 15 feet of what 16 feet of what theoretically would be
The next back
the
line.
new property line. So my question is, when we subdivide or make an application to subdivide this property, does the original house, the original piece of property that's subdividing, need a variance for the house that
Potentially.
extends, as well as asking for the second piece of property?
Right. He's saying yes.
Potentially.
So
And
does that come after the fact again as well?
Yes, and again, because I'm good at what I do here for the
No,
town,
I got
my
it. Thank you for your
report,
time.
my report is going to say that they're gonna need variances for this, the house is not gonna become non-conforming, there'll be, all these
Okay,
issues will
I
be
got
vetted
it.
by me.
I got it.
I hear what you're saying, you're
I got it.
100% right about that.
Okay,
Yeah.
but, because, I got it, thank you.
There will be a variety of issues that'll be raised that you'll be able to appear at a public hearing and hear what's going on.
So theoretically, he'd be creating his own problem by trying to do this with that house.
Well, there may be
Okay,
additional
I got it.
variances, yeah.
That's
It could be.
theoretically, I got it.
Yeah,
Yeah, Thank
let's-
you very much.
Thank
See
you, sir.
what happens.
Anybody?
Okay, so there's no action on this.
This
Oh,
is
yeah.
the applicant.
Okay. All right, we're not quite done. There. Just wait 1 second.
We're
Nothing?
good. Nothing.
You're good.
Okay. Do we want to see if there's anyone on?
Is there
No.
anybody on Zoom who wishes to be heard on this matter?
Zoom is empty.
Okay.
Application withdrawn.
Application withdrawn. Thank you very much for
Thank you all
sitting
for
through-
coming. Have a good night.
Sitting through another exciting night at the zoning board of
As
appeals.
the zoning board turns. Okay. Number 14 on the agenda, the application of 8 Two Trees LLC, 82 Trees Lane, Bridgehampton, Suffolk County Tax Map number 900-67-1-2.16.
Okay, I think this is another Carl.
Perhaps the third time is a charm for Carl.
This is the worst application ever.
Well, let's see what you think. So here's what we're seeing
All
now.
right, say your name and
Carl
address, please.
Benacasa, I'm sorry.
Yes, thank you.
860 Montauk Highway, Watermill, New York.
His name is him again?
What you're seeing, again, what you're seeing is a potential option. We're not ready to commit to this, but I wanted to come in and show you it. And the reason we're not ready to commit is because it requires the relocation of septic, and we're waiting on quotes. The quotes are coming in a pretty good range. So there's a good chance that I'll be right back here with this amendment, but I wanted to show you it. And what it is moving the court to the backyard in the far rear corner, which is certainly nowhere near the front yard.
And what would the variance request be?
10
Setbacks?
feet setback.
It says 20 here, but you mean?
It needs 30, so 10-foot relief.
Oh, 10 foot.
So, wait, where,
Oh, this is the.
no, you're saying 10 feet of relief, which,
If you see it, it's in the.
It's 20, it says 20.
Yeah.
where would you need the relief? Oh, you need this. Oh, I'm sorry.
It's not good.
And the back, and the rear?
10 and 30, so it's 30 for side and rear for accessory, so 10 each.
You moved it.
Again, it's just about relocating the septic. But I think you'll agree that's a much better location.
Yes.
I literally went out there.
Do you agree it's a much better location? Good.
Yes, we do.
So I'd like to come April 3rd. possibly.
No, she said no. She told you no before. Why do you keep pushing?
April 17th.
Yeah.
Right. I'm looking at about 14 cases in the third.
I'll go last.
Are we doing this
If
for
anything
17?
clears up, maybe she can bring
So we're gonna leave this up to, John is going to make the motion, and let's do
Well, you want us to
417.
take an action on this? How do you want-
No, no.
No, not yet.
Because
He has to
I'm
get
waiting on the
septic.
quotes from
So we're
moving
gonna leave it
septic.
open to 417?
Yes, we're gonna adjourn this until 4:17.
Okay.
Is there a second?
Second.
Wait. If you're gonna change the septic system out, consider the new technology.
We will consider the new technology.
I'm sure they would.
I don't
All right.
know.
Mr.
You're like a
McDonald?
broken record.
We're voting, we're
I
voting.
know, we are voting, yes,
Mr.
aye.
McDonald. Ms. Burgess? Aye. Mr. Redhand?
Aye.
Ms. Kennedy?
Aye.
And Mr. Leonard?
Aye.
And chair votes aye. Okay,
Thank
thank
you,
you,
Carl.
Carl. Thank you.
Number 15 on the agenda, the application of Ellis Beladoff and Ada Greenberg, 7 Sun Valley Road, Hampton Bays, Suffolk County Tax Map Number 900-269-1-21. Your train is leaving the station.
Bye-bye.
I'm getting loopy.
This.
Okay. Ian, you got copies of these?
I do Julie's needs.
All right, so pass the big one down to Julie.
Okay.
And then I have
Oh, sorry. Give
Get
it
the
all.
big one?
I think
Oh my God.
there were 8 in total, the small ones, so this should be enough for everybody.
Yeah, they're coming.
Yeah, I gotta take that.
Can share.
What's that? You got that
That's
piece?
one, I only have one. I
All
didn't
right,
know
there you
that. I
go.
didn't
There
know
you go,
that.
that.
And then you take the next set.
And I take it.
So what's that?
Yeah, this,
It's gonna be part of this.
I've sworn you in.
Yes.
Just state your name again and your address.
My name is Jared Schaefer. My address is 360 Montauk Highway, East Fort, New York.
Okay, Jared. Yeah, there's a set apparently.
I'm sorry. Yeah, I should have stapled them
Yeah,
together.
that's
This
right.
is a little bit
Oh
of
my
a
gosh,
last
Jared,
minute
really?
ordeal.
Okay,
But
here.
hold on 1 second, Jared. So you should have a C1, an A 2.1.
Yes.
And an A 2.2.
A.
Right.
Yes.
Okay,
Got
then
it.
I'm gonna need all the extras.
Okay.
Once you have.
Okay, so Jared, what's up?
Right. So went back to the client. We went back to the drawing board. They wanted to maintain a lot of the features that we had in the last edition of the building plan. But what we ended up doing was the only change, but it was the most significant concern that the board raised last time, was that we changed the proposed distance from the garage to the street from 20 foot to 35 feet. So cutting that, request for relief in half, down to only 15 feet. Additionally, we are still requesting for that 384 cubic feet of pyramid relief. But other than that, for the proposed two-car garage to be in the front
You
yard.
have to go through that again with the garage. I mean,
Yes.
I'm looking at the old survey. And
Two trees, this.
the old survey had, where was the garage on the old survey? It was by the house, right?
No, I think it was closer to the street.
Closer to the street.
Closer to the
Oh,
street.
okay, maybe I'm looking at the wrong survey. Why am I looking-
Yeah, it's moved considerably.
Yes, we have it much.
Oh,
closer.
okay, I got the old one, all right. All right, so you moved it from 20 feet to
35 foot.
35, okay.
Yes. And we can't really push it any further now because it would, affect the pool pretty considerably, and especially if you see it from the street, I would
Yeah.
think that, everybody would consider that an eyesore as well.
So wait, so what relief are you asking for now? Asking for that 35 feet to the proposed,
So 15 feet of relief into the front yard
front yard setback.
in addition to 384 cubic feet of pyramid relief, and that is 120.
Okay, hold on. You're going too fast. You're going way too fast. So you need,
All right, so 35 feet setback from the front yard line.
setback
And
to, hold on. To garage is 35 feet. You need the proposed two-car garage in the front yard.
Correct.
Garage in front yard. What, go ahead, next.
And then 384 cubic feet of pyramid relief, and in addition, that makes it 100.
And that's for the garage?
For the garage, right?
Yes.
Two-car
Yeah,
garage.
124 square feet, I believe. It's on the building plan.
Just
I
care about it.
apologize. I gave it to you.
So 384 cubic feet, okay.
Yes.
What else?
Front yard, 35 foot from the street line, and the pyramid relief.
Yeah, so it's
So
just
that's
those
it.
three things.
That's it, that's it.
Perfect.
And no other pyramid relief, correct?
Nope.
No, ma'am.
Okay.
Just the garage.
Awesome.
I think those are good adjustments.
Yeah. Awesome.
I
Great.
don't know if others have.
I think they're very good adjustments, and we appreciate, you coming back and taking this to your client, and I think it's looking good. Anybody in the audience who wishes to be heard on this matter? Anybody on Zoom who wishes to be heard on 7 Sun Valley Road?
Thank you.
Okay, Julie, this is yours.
Yes, so we are going to close the public hearing, leave it open for written submissions until April 4, with a decision on April 17th.
Second,
Ms. Kane?
Aye.
Mr. Leonard?
Aye.
Mr. Redpen?
Aye.
Mr. McDonald?
Aye.
Ms. Burgess? Aye. Chair votes aye. Okay, thank you, Jerry. That's
Candace,
it.
do you want the big
Sorry,
ones?
I just have a quick question.
Yeah.
Should I be present for April 17th?
You don't
You don't
need
have
to
to
be.
Kind of just attend the Zoom meeting.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
Okay,
you can
great.
dial in. or-
Yeah, yeah.
Awesome.
Or you can check with Candace after the meeting.
Okay,
So
great.
you can give that to
Oh,
him.
here,
oh my God.
I did draw them, but
That's okay.
I mean, wrote a couple.
Okay. Thank you, Jared. Good job.
Okay, we're moving on to the decisions.
John, can you do Ms. Foster, because she's in the.
I got her first. Okay,
wait,
so
wait. Okay,
you ready?
just about. Hold on.
Come on. She's been waiting all night, this
I know,
poor
and I have
lady.
to tell you that you've earned this decision. Oh, well, I think you should be able to sleep now. Okay.
Oh, I was going to make a joke, but I'm not going to do that. Okay. I was going to say denied. No. Okay, so I have a decision in the application of Irene Foster, Irrevocable Trust, dated November 3, 2023, Suffolk County Tax Map number 900-296-5-21. This application is for property located at 52 West Donnellan Road, Hampton Bays. Applicant seeks to legalize an accessory apartment located within an existing detached building constructed by prior owners in 2001 to 2002. Under this set of facts and circumstances, this board finds that the application passes the standards set forth in New York State Town Law and the Town Code. Therefore, this board grants relief from the following provisions of the Town Code to legalize an accessory apartment on a non-conforming lot. 1. Town Code Section 330-11.2F Special Standards for a lot area of 13,837 square feet where 30,000 square feet is required. A lot area of 13,837 square feet where 16,000 is required. 80% of the required 20,000. And an accessory side yard setback of 5.4 feet where 7 feet is required. 70% of the required 10 feet for the existing detached garage. Excuse me, my God. You're killing me. 2, Town Code Section 330-11.2G1 Special Standards to allow the size of the accessory apartment total floor area in comparison to the main dwelling to be 37.4%, where a maximum of 35% is permitted, as shown on the survey prepared by Gary Benz, L.S., dated April 5, 2024, and the floor plans prepared by Greg W. Tieshin, R.A., of WSG Drafting and Design Studio. Oh my God. Last dated November 20, 2024. Granted, the foregoing relief is subject to such conditions and permits as the applicant has already acquired or may otherwise have to acquire for final approval of the subject premises, including the removal or relocation of the shed to a conforming location prior to the issuance of any certificate for the apartment.
Is there a second?
Second.
Mr. Leonard?
Aye.
Ms. Kane?
Aye.
Mr. Redhand?
Aye.
Mr. McDonald?
Aye.
Ms. Burgess? Chair votes aye. Thank you very much and good night.
Thank you.
Thank you.
John, we're going to go back to the beginning to give you a chance to catch your
Yeah,
breath.
give John a break.
Oh, wait, she wants to, hold on.
want to shake everybody's hand.
Oh.
You would let me do that, but
You don't have to worry about shaking our hands. We appreciate
Yeah,
it.
Yeah.
Yes, get COVID.
No,
Please,
that's
everybody, I can't, sorry, I can thank you enough for this.
Oh, yeah,
It's
well,
been
we're,
over a year, and I've just
Yeah.
been, thank you.
So glad that it
and you
worked
know
out.
what?
The nightmare is over.
Sorry for you.
You're sorry for me?
Get
Uh,
well.
Oh,
you know,
I
and I wanna
understand.
just-
Thank you, my dear.
Yeah. I just want to say you're going to have a good sleep tonight.
Thank you,
Okay.
thank you
Thank
again,
you.
everybody, I really,
Okay.
really appreciate
Take
it.
good
Thank
You're
you.
welcome.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Okay, I have a decision. I have an amended decision, actually. It's an amended decision for 33010 Noyak Road LLC, Suffolk County Tax Map 900-14-1-66.5. On October 3rd, 2024, this board, by decision number D024115, granted variances in connection with 8 affordable housing units to be located on a lot within an existing two-story, one-family dwelling. This decision, however, did not reference the revised site plan. As such, the ZBA decision D024115 is hereby amended to refer to the site plan prepared by Vincent Gaudiello, P.E. of the Raynor Group, P.E. and L.S. PLIC, last dated August 1st, 2024. All other provisions of the conditions of decision D024115 remain in full force and effect. Is there a second?
Second.
Ms. Kane? Mr. Leonard?
Hi.
Mr. Redhand? Mr. McDonald?
Aye.
Ms. Burgess? All right, chair votes aye. I have a decision for Helen I will read. This is Richard and Veronica Palizzi, Suffolk County Tax Map 900-191-1-33. This application is for property located at 47A Oakhurst Road, Hampton Bays. Applicant seeks variances for a proposed deck and pool to be located in the required yards on an undersized flag lot burdened by wetlands. This board finds that the application passes the standards set forth in New York State Town Law and Town Code. Therefore, this board grants relief from the following provisions of the Town Code. 1. For a proposed pool, Town Code Section 330-76D, placement of accessory building structures and uses in all districts, and Section 330-83C yards, to allow the pool to be located within the required front yard for the principal building. And 2, for a proposed deck Town Code Section 330-76D, placement of accessory building structures and uses in all districts, and Section 330-83C yards, to allow the deck to be located within the required front yard and total side yard for the principal building, and Town Code Section 330-83A4 yards, to allow a deck higher than 1 foot above ground level to be located within the required front yard on a non-conforming lot. These variances are granted as shown on the survey prepared by Robert A. Smith of Squires, Holden, Weissenbacher, and Smith, last revised October 2nd, 2024. The grant of the foregoing relief is subject to such other conditions and permits as applicant has already acquired or may otherwise have to acquire for final approval of subject premises, including ensuring that no stormwater runoff be discharged into the adjoining body of water.
Second.
Mr. Leonard?
Aye.
Ms. Kane?
Aye.
Mr. Redhand?
Aye.
Mr. McDonald?
Aye.
Ms. Burgess? Chair votes aye. Okay, Kevin?
Okay. So this is a decision in the application of Hobby Stones LLC. I'm making the motion. Suffolk County Tax Map number 900-324-3-8. This application is for a property located at 159 Lynn Avenue, Hampton Bays. Applicant requests a variance for the expansion of a house on an oversized lot where 2 pre-existing dwellings are situated. This board finds that the application passes the standards set forth in New York State Town Law and Town Code. Therefore, this board grants relief from the Town Code Section 330-167B1A, specific types of variances for a proposed 685 square foot addition of habitable space to a one-family dwelling situated on a lot with the second one-family dwelling, representing an 18.8% expansion as shown on the survey prepared by Michael K. Wicks, licensed surveyor, last revised December 12, 2024, and floor plans and elevation prepared by Paul J. Clinton, R.A., last issued December 18th, 2024. This decision is subject to the conditions of other permits as applicants has already acquired or may otherwise have to acquire, and for final approval of the subject premises, including ensuring no stormwater runoff be discharged into adjoining body of water.
Second.
Mr. McDonald?
Aye.
Mr. Leonard?
Aye.
Ms. Kane?
Aye.
Mr. Redhand?
Aye.
Ms. Burgess? Chair votes aye. Okay, Julie, you're up for 3.
Yes.
Okay.
307 Montauk Highway LLC, Suffolk County Town Map 900-210-2-28. This application is for property located at 307 Montauk Highway, Shinnecock Hills. Applicant requests modest variances for a house under construction pursuant to a building permit issued in error. This board finds that the application passes the standards set forth in New York State Town Law and the Town Code. Therefore, this board grants relief from Town Code Section 330-115D continuance for a total side yard of 43.1 feet where 50 feet is permitted, and a minimum side yard of 19.6 where 20 feet is permitted, and Town Code 330-84D pyramid height for a 340 cubic foot encroachment to the west for a new one-family dwelling. As shown on the survey prepared by John Berliski, LS, last updated November 18, 2024, and the floor plans and elevations prepared by Nicholas Martin, RA, of Martin Architects, PC, last revised November 20, 2024. The grant of the foregoing relief is subject to such other conditions and permits as applicant has already acquired or may otherwise have to acquire for final approval of the subject premises.
Second.
Ms. Kane?
Aye.
Mr. Leonard?
Aye.
Mr. Redhand?
Aye.
Mr. McDonald?
Aye.
Ms. Burgess? Chair votes aye.
Okay, I have
Well, Julie's got 2 more.
I've got
Oh, you
two
do?
more.
Oh, okay. I thought we were just going down the list.
Well, it's the list that Katie provided us,
Oh,
so,
okay.
sorry.
Sorry.
Go ahead.
DLK Interests LLC, Suffolk County Town Map 900-32-2-32.2. This application is for property located at 21 Oakview Road, North Sea. Applicant requests variances for a proposed tennis court in the front yard on a lot burdened by 3 front yards. After the applicant increased the setback cut the corners of the proposed court and agreed to maintain the screening of the court, the board finds that the application passes the standards set forth in New York State Town Law and the Town Code. Therefore, this board grants relief from Town Code Section 330-6, General Regulations, that references Section 330-11, Residence District Tables of Dimensional Regulations, for a distance from the front lot line of 10 feet where 70 feet is required, and Town Code Section 330-76D, placement of accessory buildings, structures, and uses in all districts, and Section 330-83C, yards, to allow a proposed sunken 55-foot by 105-foot tennis court to be located in the required front yard, as shown on the survey prepared by John F. Berliski, last revised March 7, 2025. The grant of the foregoing relief is subject to such other conditions and permits as applicant has already acquired or may otherwise have to acquire for final approval of the subject premises, including the maintenance of the wooded screening of the proposed court by the applicant and all successors in interest.
Second.
Ms. Kane.
Aye.
Mr. Leonard.
Aye.
Mr. Redhand.
Aye.
Mr. McDonald.
Aye.
Ms. Burgess. Chair votes aye. Last one.
Okay,
please.
last one. Linda Perillo, Suffolk County Tax Map 900-61-1-26. This application is for property located at 38 Cove Road North, North Sea. Applicant requests variances for a proposed 10 by 16 frame shed and roof over existing steps and platform on a non-conforming lot burdened by wetlands. This application passes the standards set forth in New York State Town Law and Town Code. Therefore, this board grants relief from the following provisions of the Town Code for a proposed accessory building, 10 feet by 16 foot frame shed, little I, section 330-115D, continuance for an accessory side yard setback of 6 feet where 10 feet is required from the east lot line, and little Roman 2, Town Code section 330-84D, pyramid law for a sky plane encroachment to the east of 91.667 cubic feet. This board also grants relief from Town Code Section 330-83K yards as it relates to Town Code Section 330-11 Residence District Table of Dimensional Regulations for a principal front yard setback of 24.9 feet where 30 feet is required for a proposed roof over existing steps and platform. These variances are granted as shown on the survey prepared by Jeffrey W. Haderer, last dated May 31, 2024, and the plans prepared by Bill Chaliff, R.A., dated July 1, 2024. The granting of this relief is subject to such other conditions and permits as applicants have already acquired or may otherwise have to acquire for final approval of the subject premises.
Second.
Ms. Kane.
Aye.
Mr. Leonard.
Aye.
Mr. Redhand.
Aye.
Mr. McDonald.
Aye.
Ms. Burgess. Aye. Chair votes aye. Okay, John, you go, and then I've got a resolution.
Okay, I have a decision in the application of Andrew Fader, Suffolk County Tax Map number 900-5-3-21. This application is for property located at 165 Noyak Avenue, Noyak. Applicant requests variances for pyramid encroachments for a new dwelling and garage on a narrow non-conforming lot burdened by wetlands. After reducing the square footage of the second floor of the garage and changing the roof ridge to reduce the encroachment, and with the condition that screening by planted, and with the condition that screening is planted, this board finds that the application passes the standards set forth in New York State Town Law and the Town Code. Therefore, this board grants the following relief from 1, Town Code Section 330-84D, pyramid law for a sky plane encroachment of 2,335 cubic feet, 1,014 cubic feet on the east, and 1,321 cubic feet on the west for a new one-family residence. And 2, Town Code Section 330-84D for a sky plane encroachment of 250 cubic feet on the west side for a proposed 2-story detached garage, as shown on the survey prepared by John F. Berilski, L.S., last revised on June 11, 2024, and the floor plans, elevations, and pyramid diagram prepared by David H. Sherwood, R.A., last dated January 6, 2025. Granted, the foregoing is subject to such other conditions and permits as applicant has already acquired or may otherwise have to acquire for final approval of the subject premises, including the installation and maintenance of vegetative screening by the applicant and all successors in interest on the west side of the premises by the garage.
Is there a second?
Second.
Mr. Leonard?
Aye.
Ms. Kane?
Aye.
Mr. Redford?
Aye.
Mr. McDonald?
Aye.
Ms. Burgess? Okay, I have a resolution, and this is in the Atlantic Golf Club, Inc., Mary Ann Gabrielle et al. Applicant, Suffolk County Tax Map 900-19, I think it's 19-1-7.1. Whereas the subject premises is comprised of property located at 1040 Scuttle Hole Road, Bridgehampton, Town of Southampton, Suffolk County, totals in excess of 200 acres in the CR 80 zoning district, and is identified as Suffolk County Tax Map 900-49-1-7.1. Atlantic Golf Club, Inc., whereas hereafter AGC, is the record owner of such premises, which benefits from various certificates of approval and boasts an 18-hole golf course with driving range and assorted buildings and structures. And whereas on August 3rd, 2021, Mary Ann Gabrielle at 1130 Scuttle Hole Road, Short Ponds Associates, 264 Geyer Road, and the Ronald L. Braun 2012 Gift Trust Number 1, located at 1188 Scuttle Hole Road, and Neil Ostberg Real Estate, LLC, located at 1172 Scuttle Hole Road, made an application to the Zoning Board of Appeals, appealing a determination by the Chief Building Inspector dated June 4th, 2021, permitting the Atlantic Golf Course to construct staff housing as an accessory use at the subject premises. Whereas the ZBA held public hearings on the application, and by decision number D022062, dated June 16, 2022, found that an accessory building intended to be used for cooking and/or sleeping purposes is not permitted by town code. This is called the ZBA decision. And whereas the Atlantic Golf Course commenced a hybrid action pursuant to Articles 30 and 78 of the CPLR challenging the ZBA decision, and whereas by memorandum decision and order dated February 10th, 2025, the Supreme Court, Suffolk County Honorable Marion Rose Tenary, JSC, found and determined that the Zoning Board of Appeals had no authority to hear this case or make any findings, and annulled and vacated the ZBA decision. Now therefore be it resolved that in accordance with the February 10th, 2025 memorandum decision and order of the Honorable Marion Rose Tenary, JSC, this board annuls ZBA decision number D022062 dated June 16, 2022, and be it further resolved that the ZBA will not file a notice of appeal or make an appearance challenging the aforementioned memorandum decision and order. Is there a second?
Second.
Second. Third.
Ms. Kane?
Aye.
Mr. Leonard?
Aye.
Mr. Redford?
Aye.
Mr. McDonald?
Aye.
Ms. Burgess? Chair votes aye. Okay, before we close, Katie, you wanted to talk about the road review and representation.
Oh, I totally forgot, yes. Once a month, the road review committee meets. A delegate from the town engineering department, the building department, the zoning board, and the planning board, and the highway department are all supposed to go. Typically, it's the town staff meet because we're all here, and the meetings are at 10, and sometimes it's difficult, but we recently tried to have a meeting, and we didn't have a quorum. So I figured I would take this opportunity to maybe everybody look at your calendars, and maybe everybody just takes a month, right? And then, just once a month, somebody has to come to road review. The meeting never lasts more than like a half hour.
Is it at a regular time?
Yes, it's typically at 10.
10 o'clock.
On which day?
It's, I want to say it's the first or second Tuesday of the
It's
month.
like a Tuesday.
But I'll get it. And then, like I said, and then if something comes up and you can't go, then maybe you could just email the group and be like, can somebody come?
What's the essence of the job?
It's just reviewing any kind of
The
new
engineer
construction on
comes in,
private
he
roads.
presents, it's like what we discussed today.
Yeah, right.
There's a private road, they want a development, so sometimes they'll say you have to widen the road, you have to pave it, you gotta put shrubs,
Come up with
so-
it based on some formula, I assume.
Right, and then, and that's pretty much it,
And then that board says yes, and then it gets.
and then it goes to the town board.
Yep, that board makes recommendations, they go to the town board,
It goes
the
to
town
the
board
town
adopts
board,
them.
which can accept it or not accept it,
Yeah.
But it's just like I said, typically the town staff kind of runs it, but I was like, oh, this is an opportunity to get everybody to commit to 1 month. And like I said, if something comes up, which often it does,
Right.
then at least we know. The last time.
I've been going, the only thing I have to tell you though, Katie, is that a couple of times I showed up and the main meeting was canceled.
That's annoying.
And you know what, the problem was that it's, they do by internal memo. And so if you go to your desk and you open up your, laptop when you're in town, you see that there's a memo. Now, for me, I think we have to just tell them that if in fact the meeting is canceled, you have to personally notify whoever is assigned.
But again, I think it would be easier when we know who that person is. Because I'm sure she cancels it and she doesn't.
That's not true, because I would say I'm coming, and she knew you have to check off you're gonna come to the meeting. She knew I had planned to be there.
Correct.
And she didn't let me know. So I think we have to make sure that.
I would be surprised. I think if you looked at your email, it probably came to your town hall email.
It did, but the meeting is at 10. I'm not looking at my town hall email before 10 o'clock on every single day. So yes, so I just would say that for us as a board, everybody's very committed, just to make sure that they know that they have to personally reach out.
So is the discussion, we're asking people to take 2 months a year?
No, yes. I mean, but
Something
again,
like
I'll,
Unless if somebody is unable to do it, I've been trying to attend, but if you can take a meeting, it's interesting. I mean, it's sort of different.
I'll get the dates. I'll email them to everybody.
10 in the morning somewhere?
Yeah, here.
It's here at town hall. It's usually at 10, like I said.
And it's
I like
quick.
mornings better anyway.
It's
very
quick.
quick.
It's quick.
It's very quick.
But the problem's been, and Katie knows this. I mean, so people aren't showing up, and then we have to postpone the review. This week I couldn't do it, but it's not just the zoning board. Planning board always shows up because Tom Neely comes to everything. He's so good about that. But sometimes the building department doesn't show up, or the highway department doesn't show up. So so they're trying to ask us to help them out to make sure that they have a quorum so that they can actually deal with these applications. So
I could be asked about it on a case-by-case basis, but I can't commit to.
Yeah, well, like I said, I'll email it, and sometimes there's nothing. So it's, we got to make
all right, before we do I have a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
All in favor?
Aye.
Meeting's adjourned.